Chapter 4090, Gather at the Upper House Square in the next few days. The news of Yun Chujo comprehending the superposition of sword intent spread throughout the nameless sword sect. The disciples who had already comprehended two types of sword intent in the sect tried to attempt the superposition of sword intent, but all of them failed. Everyone had to admit that not everyone could do the superposition of sword intent. Now, it seemed that only Yun Chujo, that pervert, could do it. However, Hei Xinjiu was not very happy because she still had not successfully infused her sword intent. Could it be that she really did not have the talent to forge swords? Elder Duanmu had originally wanted to take Hei Xinjiu in as a successor disciple before Elder Dongfang, but now that she was still unable to infuse her sword intent, he could not help but hesitate. No matter how talented Yun Chujo was, he was a sword forger. If he could not infuse his sword intent into a successor disciple, what kind of disciple was she? Therefore, he decided to put this matter aside for the time being and observe it again. Yun Chujo tried infusing her sword intent for a few days but failed. Hence, she did not go to Elder Duanmu's place and instead stayed in the courtyard to practice her sword with the shadow of the drifter. Of course, Hei Xinjiu was tortured miserably. It was simply too horrible to look at. It was extremely tragic. Fortunately, Hei Xinjiu's character was tenacious. If it was an ordinary person, they would have been tortured to a point where they had no hope of living. On this day, just as Yun Chujo was being tortured by the drifter, a message was transmitted from her identity jade token, telling her to gather at the upper house's square. Yun Chujo could not help but feel very puzzled. She was now an inner sect disciple. Even if there was anything to gather, she would only go to the middle house's square. Why was it that she was going to the upper house's square this time? When Yun Chujo arrived at the square of the upper court, she realized that everyone present was an elder and a true disciple. Yun Chujo was even more puzzled. What was he going to do? Just as she was feeling suspicious, Zhuang Hong walked over and berated, "Yun Chujo, what are you doing here? Don't you know that the lowest qualification to attend the whale feast this time is to be a true disciple? Hurry up and leave." Yun Chujo felt that this Zhuang Hong was like a mad dog. Whenever he saw her, he would bark a few times. Sooner or later, he would teach him a good lesson. Yun Chujo took out her identity jade token and waved it. "I didn't come here by myself. It was the miscellaneous affairs hall that informed me to come." Zhuang Hong sneered. "You really have a habit of lying. How could the miscellaneous affairs hall make such a mistake? You must be trying to cause trouble, so you lied and said that you received the news. I'm warning you, leave immediately. Otherwise, I'll get the discipline hall to chase you away." Yun Chujo was not a good-tempered person to begin with. Zhuang Hong kept finding fault with her again and again, and this fellow was instantly enraged. "Martial Uncle Zhuang, I respect you as an elder, so I've tolerated you many times. Don't give me face and don't be shameless. Let's not talk about the fact that I did receive the notice. Even if I did not receive the notice, it seems that maintaining order is not your responsibility, right? Could it be that you want to experience the power of the sect leader in advance? TSK, I really can't wait." Zhuang Hong's face suddenly flushed red. Yun Chujia's subtext was clearly saying that he could not wait to take over as the sect leader and wanted to replace him. These words were really too harsh. If this were to reach Master Ouyang's ears, although he couldn't do anything about it, he would definitely be unhappy. "You're spouting nonsense. Today, I must teach you a good lesson for being disrespectful to your elders." Zhuang Hong flew into a rage out of humiliation and reached out to draw his sword. Chapter 4091 headed to the Flying Flower Island. At this moment, a stern shout was heard, "Stop!" Zhuang Hong was about to pull out his sword when he suddenly stopped. He turned around and saw that it was Master Ouyang who had spoken. Zhuang Hong did not know why, but he felt a little flustered. He hurriedly explained, "Master, only true disciples have the right to participate in the whale feast. Yun Chujo is purely here to cause trouble. I tried to persuade her to leave, but she contradicted me. That's why Alright, there's no need to say anymore. I was the one who asked the Miscellaneous Affairs Hall to inform her. This time, I'll make an exception and bring her to the whale feast." Master Ouyang interrupted Zhuang Hong's words, and his expression was a little unhappy. Recently, Zhuang Hong's performance had made him more and more dissatisfied. He was even worse than Zhongli, who had been demoted. Although Zhongli was a little blunt, at least he had a sense of propriety when doing things. This Zhuang Hong was getting more and more arrogant. Zhuang Hong had wanted to ask why he had brought an inner sect disciple, Yun Chujiu, to the whale feast. However, seeing Master Ouyang's unfriendly expression, he did not dare to ask. Master Ouyang said to Yun Chujiu, "Island Master Qi of the Flying Flower Island has taken into consideration that you were once the southern continent's female emperor of Zephyr, and has specially given you an invitation. I cannot refuse, so you will go to the whale feast with us." Yun Chujiu never thought that this was the reason. However, it was good to go out for a walk. There were so many people, so she wasn't afraid of causing any trouble. Thus, this fellow agreed with a smile. Master Ouyang nodded and continued to walk towards the square. Zhuang Hong glared at Yun Chujiu and quickly followed. Yun Chujiu pursed her lips. He was a fool who didn't know his own limits. Even if she didn't make a move, old man Ouyang would probably take care of him. The moment he thought that he could go out for a walk, he immediately threw this unhappiness to the back of his mind. After a while, Master Ouyang began to speak. He only mentioned some things to take note of during the whale feast and informed everyone that they would be leaving in 2 days. After Yun Chujiu returned to the courtyard happily, she said to the drifters, "I'm going to the Flying Flower Island to attend the whale feast in 2 days. Do you guys want to stay in the sect or follow me out for a stroll?" The two groups of drifters were obviously not well behaved. They immediately scrambled to jump up, indicating that they were willing to go with Yun Chujiu. Yun Chujiu had long expected this. She was willing to bring these drifters along. Perhaps it would be helpful to her. On the morning of their departure, the drifters obediently entered the 3 puppet discs. Yun Chujiu kept them and went to the meeting place. She looked around. Since this was a gathering of the 6 sects, Master Ouyang naturally had to personally lead the team. However, he was afraid that Elder Wan would be restless in the sect, so Elder Wan also went with them. Elder Wan was not an ordinary person. He was afraid that Master Ouyang would have some tricks up his sleeve, so he left Wan Qingba in the sect. Seeing that everyone had arrived, Master Ouyang immediately summoned his flying spirit tool and everyone set off. The journey was very smooth. A few days later, everyone arrived at the Sea of All Things where the Flying Flower Island was located. As soon as they arrived at the seaside, the disciples of the Flying Flower Island came to welcome them and led them to a luxurious ship. On the ship, there were maids and servants. They prepared tea and spirit fruits for everyone, making them feel at home. Not only that, there were also sharp-tongued disciples on the deck who helped everyone introduce the situation of the Sea of All Things and the Flying Flower Island. Their attitude was very appropriate. Yun Chujiu thought to herself that the Flying Flower Island was well versed in the way of treating guests, making people very comfortable. Chapter 4092 Water Well, the Flying Flower Island was very far from the shore. The ship sailed for a full 2 days before they finally saw a densely packed island in the distance. The Flying Flower Island didn't just refer to an island. Such a large area, or even half of the Sea of All Creation, was within the territory of the Flying Flower Island. The reason why it was said that half of the Sea of All Creation was because the Sea of All Creation was bounded by a trench. South of the trench was the territory of the Flying Flower Island, while north of the trench lived high-level sea beasts. The people of the Flying Flower Island didn't dare to set foot in it. The blue-tailed giant bone whale they captured this time was a high-level sea beast that had accidentally entered the shallow sea. It was very rare to see it, and they had to work together to subdue it. Otherwise, they would not have used it as a publicity stunt. The big ship did not sail to the main island. Instead, it docked at the side of an island not far from the main island. Before the big ship docked, there were already people waiting on the dock. Master Ouyang, elders, my island master originally wanted to come over personally to welcome you, but he still had to prepare for the whale feast. I'm really sorry. Everyone, please follow me to Hibiscus Island to rest for the time being. This way, please, Elder Jia, who was in charge of receiving them, said warmly. The people from the Nameless Sword sect were not dissatisfied with this. Although Island Master Qi did not come over personally to welcome them, he still sent Elder Jia, who had a rather high status on the island, to welcome them. This could be considered as giving the Nameless Sword sect enough face. Yun Chujo walked at the back of the group and looked around. She had already heard from the disciples of the Flying Flower Island that the islands of the Flying Flower Island were basically named after flowers. Hibiscus Island was considered one of the larger islands among the many islands. Hibiscus flowers could be seen everywhere on the island. It was a lively scene. The Flying Flower Island had obviously put in a lot of effort for this whale feast. Not only had they specially chosen 5 islands to be the temporary residences of the 5 great sects, but they had also built an exquisite guest house. Moreover, there were maids and servants in the guest house. Elder Jia exchanged a few more pleasantries with Master Ouyang before taking his leave. The journey was tiring as everyone went to the guest house that was allocated to them to wash up and rest. Yun Chujo followed a maid to the guest house that was allocated to her. Although the courtyard wasn't big, it was very clean and tidy. Yun Chujo was somewhat surprised. She thought that that little bitch Xiao Yu would take the opportunity to frame her, but she didn't expect that she would worry too much. Even so, after the maid left, Yun Chujo still checked inside and out before her gaze finally landed on a well. Yun Chujo carefully walked to the edge of the well and looked down. There was indeed water inside. If she was not more observant than others, she might not have suspected anything. The corners of her lips curled up slightly. She thought that Xiao Yu, that little bitch, had turned over a new leaf, but she did not expect that she was still the same person. The appearance of this well in her courtyard was clearly abnormal. One had to know what was the most scarce thing on the island. Without a doubt, it was fresh water. Such a scarce well naturally had to be set at a place where it was convenient for everyone to fetch water. It was not an exaggeration to even send people to guard it, but now it had appeared in her guest courtyard so casually. It was simply too abnormal, all right? Yun Chujo narrowed her eyes. Should she move to another courtyard? This fellow rolled his eyes and suddenly thought of a way to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. After a simple wash and rinse, she strolled to the small training field set up in the guest courtyard. It had to be said that the Flying Flower Island was very considerate. Not only was there a living room in the guest courtyard for discussion, there was also a small training field set up. Chapter 4093 Octopus had taken the bait when Yun Chujo arrived at the training field. Many of the successive disciples were practicing their sword techniques. After all, the ultimate goal of the whale feast was to compete with these successive disciples. A few successive disciples were surrounding Zhuang Hong and practicing their sword techniques, looking as if they were trying to curry favor with him. Half of the successive disciples of the Nameless Sword sect were old disciples of the same generation as Zhuang Hong, and the other half were new disciples of the same generation as Yun Chujo. Whether it was in terms of seniority or spiritual power, the old disciples naturally had the advantage and were firmly ahead of the new disciples. Therefore, although they were all successive disciples, their statuses were different. Zhuang Hong was an old disciple, and moreover, he was the sect master's successive disciple. Naturally, many people would curry favor with him. Zhuang Hong's gaze swept over Yun Chujo, and his expression immediately became unsightly. In order to curry favor with him, the disciples next to him. He mocked, "Some people are really lucky. They are clearly not true disciples, but they still came to participate in the whale feast. They only need to eat and drink. Anyway, they are not true disciples, so they don't need to participate in the competition. They are really idiots." "Ha, right, you are right, she is an idiot." When Yun Chujo heard these people, she immediately rushed in front of them angrily. "Who are you talking about? All of you shut up. Otherwise, I will go to the sect leader and complain. I will kill all of you." How could those disciples be afraid of Yun Chujia's threat? They all winked and said, Yun Chujio, if you have the ability, then go and complain. We don't believe that the sect leader will punish us for such a small matter. You should cherish your idiotic quota. Otherwise, with your talent, you won't have the chance to participate in such a grand event in your lifetime. Yun Chujia's small face flushed red. She was obviously furious. However, she immediately said proudly, Humph. So what if my quota is a gift? Let me tell you, I still have a well in my courtyard. What is the most lacking thing on Hibiscus Island? Fresh water. You will soon be unable to wash properly because of the lack of fresh water, but I'm not afraid. After all, the well is in my courtyard. What does this mean? It means that the people of the Flying Flower Island also look at me in a different light. So what if some of them are the disciples of the sect leader? Is there a well in your courtyard? Yun Chujio looked at Zhuang Hong provocatively after she finished speaking. She looked as arrogant as she could be. When those disciples heard Yun Chujio's words, they were stunned at first, then they became indignant. Yun Chujio, if you know your place, then give up the courtyard. How can you have the right to live in such a good courtyard? That's right, you don't deserve to live in such a good courtyard. Among us, only Martial Uncle Zhuang has the right to live in a courtyard with a well. Hurry up and give the courtyard to Martial Uncle Zhuang. Yun Chujio, if you know your place, then forget it. Otherwise, don't blame us for forcefully kicking you out. Yun Chujio's face was filled with anger and a little fear. You're unreasonable. That's clearly my courtyard, why should I give it to Martial Uncle Zhuang? I won't give it up today, what can you do to me? One of the disciples curled his lips and said to Zhuang Hong, Martial Uncle Zhuang, let's go to her courtyard now. We want to see if she has the guts to fight with you for the courtyard. Although Zhuang Hong did not say anything, he followed the disciples out of the martial arts practice field. He had always thought highly of himself and naturally wanted a courtyard with a well. Yun Chujio looked at the backs of the crowd and her eyes flashed. The fish had taken the bait. Chapter 4094, Chu Fang. Although He Xinjiu was happy, she looked angry and wanted to chase after him. However, she heard someone say weakly, Junior Sister Yun, please wait a moment. Yun Chujio turned her head and saw that the person who spoke was also a core disciple. He had a handsome face, but his body was a little thin. Yun Chujio had some impression of him. When she was in the Eye of Sword Intent, she had sneaked into the seat of a core disciple. She had talked to a core disciple and asked him if he saw the fog. It was this disciple in front of her. At that time, when Zhuang Hong had made things difficult for her, he had even tugged at her clothes and reminded her not to offend Zhuang Hong. Yun Chujio had a good impression of him. When that person saw Yun Chujio looking at him, he smiled a little awkwardly. Then, he lowered his voice and said, Junior Sister Yun, it's just a guest house. We'll be leaving after staying for a while. They have the advantage in numbers. Why do you have to be so serious with them? It won't be worth it if you suffer at that time. Yun Chujio was not a fool. She naturally knew that he had good intentions, so she said with a faint smile, Thank you for your advice, senior brother. How should I address you? Which elder is your disciple? The disciple scratched his head embarrassedly. My name is Chu Fang. My master is Elder Gu. Although Yun Chujio did not have much contact with Elder Gu, she felt that the old man was not bad, so her impression of Chu Fang became even better. So it's senior brother Chu, I'm going to rob my courtyard now. I'll come and play with you another day. See you later. Yun Chujio didn't wait for Chu Fang's reaction after she finished speaking and hopped off. Chu Fang, so what he said just now was all for naught. This junior sister Yun was too stubborn. He thought about it and decided to follow behind. Although many people in the sect said that Yun Chujio was no good, he felt that this junior sister Yun was very different from the rest. Yun Chujio realized that Chu Fang was following her, so she did not bother about him and went to her own courtyard. At this moment, Zhuang Hong and the others were sitting in the courtyard, obviously planning to occupy this courtyard. Although Yun Chujo was eager for Zhuang Hong to seize this courtyard, she had to sing the whole opera. If she gave up the courtyard to him easily, he might be suspicious. Yun Chujo stood at the door with her hands on her hips, pointing at Zhuang Hong and the others and scolding, "Shameless. Don't you feel embarrassed for taking over someone else's courtyard? Get out of here quickly, or I will really go to the sect leader and complain." Zhuang Hong snorted coldly, "Yun Chujo, master is very busy right now. If you disturb him over such a small matter, you will not have a good ending." Yun Chujo clenched her fists, her eyes were red with anger. In the end, she stomped her feet. "You're ruthless. Well, see about that." After Yun Chujo said that, she ran out of the courtyard amidst the laughter. Chu Fang saw Yun Chujo running out with red eyes. He hesitated for a moment, but still chased after her and asked carefully, "Junior sister Yun, are you okay?" Yun Chujo silently shook her head, but her eyes were still red. Chu Fang sighed and said, "Junior sister Yun, just bear with it. Martial Uncle Zhuang has always been a true disciple. He only fears Martial Uncle Wan a little. You can't beat him." Yun Chujia's heart moved when she heard Chu Fang's words. She had originally planned to go to Zhuang Hong's courtyard, but now she had turned around and returned to the martial arts practice field. When she arrived at the martial arts practice field, Yun Chujo sat pitifully on a large rock. She did not say anything, only shedding a few tears. Chapter 4095, A Little White Lotus. The martial arts practice field had already gathered many successive disciples who practiced the sword. When they saw Yun Chujia's expression, they were all very curious. Some of them who knew what had happened before began to ramble on about what had happened. Everyone shook their heads. Although they were not familiar with Yun Chujio, and their impression of her was also average, Zhuang Hong, as the sect leader's disciple, had actually stolen a junior's courtyard. This was really a little too much. Yun Chujio portrayed a little white lotus in a lifelike manner. From time to time, she would sob a few times. Her small body even started to tremble. She looked like she was being bullied but did not dare to say anything. Everyone sympathized with the weak. Seeing her like this, even though they were not familiar with her, they felt a little more pity and comforted her. The general meaning was that it was just a courtyard. If he wanted to snatch it, so be it. Don't take it to heart. Yun Chujio gratefully nodded to everyone and wiped away her tears before leaving. This time, Chu Fang did not follow her. Firstly, he saw that Yun Chujio seemed to be fine. Secondly, he was not familiar with Yun Chujio. Hence, he did not see Yun Chujio walk out not far away. Her originally pitiful face revealed a trace of a smile. Yes, it was a very sinister one. She was really looking forward to that little bitch Xiao Yu and Zhuang Hong biting each other. Perhaps there would be a good show to watch tonight. When that time came, it would definitely be very interesting. Zhuang Hong's courtyard was not too far from Yun Chujia's original courtyard. Yun Chujio simply tidied it up and began to cultivate. When the sky turned dark, this fellow excitedly jumped onto the roof, munching on melon seeds as he prepared to watch a good show. This fellow was actually very curious. What exactly was that Xiao Yu planning to do? After thinking about it, it was just that someone would crawl out from the well. Could it be that she wanted to kill her? This was unlikely. After all, if she was killed in the guest courtyard, Flying Flower Island would also be implicated. Or was she planning to poison her to death? It was also unlikely. If she wanted to poison her, there was no need to go through so much trouble. He was really curious. This guy waited for a long time, but he did not hear any movement from the other side. He was so sleepy that he yawned, so he could only go back to his room to rest. While he was half asleep, he suddenly heard Zhuang Hong scream. Hei Xinjiu instantly opened her eyes. Oh my, the show has begun. This guy did not even bother to put on his shoes. He jumped onto the roof as soon as he stepped out of the door and stretched his neck to look at Zhuang Hong's courtyard. He could vaguely see that many of the courtyards were lit up by candlelight. There were also people rushing over in a hurry, and Zhuang Hong's howling could be heard in the midst of it. Although He Xinjiu was extremely curious, this guy did not dare to go over to watch the commotion in order to avoid suspicion. He would definitely find out the next day anyway. Zhuang Hong's howling could be heard for almost half the night. He Xinjiu felt that the sound was too damn beautiful, and it could be used as a lullaby. The next day, Yun Chujiu woke up early, which was rare. After breakfast, she strolled to the martial arts practice field. There were many disciples gathered on the martial arts practice field, but they did not practice their swords. Instead, they were talking excitedly about what happened last night. Have you heard? Martial Uncle Zhuang was in a terrible state last night. If Elder One had not arrived in time, he would have been eaten by that monster. What monster? It's a sea beast called the iron-clawed poisonous octopus. I don't know how it crawled into the well. The well leads to the spring at the back of the mountain. Maybe the iron-clawed poisonous octopus crawled in from the spring. Not only is the iron-clawed poisonous octopus extremely strong, it's also extremely poisonous. I heard that Martial Uncle Zhuang's face was destroyed. I don't know if he'll be able to recover in the future. Chapter 4096 Killing 3 Birds with 1 Stone. Yun Chujiu listened to everyone's discussion and sneered in her heart. So this was Xiao Yu's plan. Although there were many loopholes in this explanation, as long as there was no conclusive evidence, Master Ouyang really couldn't say anything. After all, this was just an accident, wasn't it? The iron-clawed poisonous octopus was a level 70 sea beast, which was equivalent to the 5th to 6th layer of the nirvana of the soul. Even Zhuang Hong didn't have the strength to fight back, let alone her. If she had not changed her courtyard, even if she was not injured, she would have exposed her secret. It was a close call. As expected, she had to be more careful in the future. Just as Yun Chujiu was thinking about it, the disciples who were discussing shifted the topic to her. Junior sister Yun is really blessed. If Martial Uncle Zhuang had not insisted on snatching her courtyard, she would have been the unlucky one. That's right. Even Martial Uncle Zhuang's spiritual power was seriously injured. If it were junior sister Yun, she would probably not be able to keep her life. That's right. So this person's fate is destined. It's impossible not to believe in fate. Junior sister Yun is truly a blessed person. Yun Chujiu was secretly rejoicing in her heart. What a bullshit fate. This was all planned by her, alright? Although those people were discussing animatedly, no one suspected that all of this was done on purpose by Yun Chujiu. After all, many people had seen He Xinjia's sad and angry appearance with their own eyes yesterday. On the contrary, everyone felt that Yun Chujiu was a blessed person who had avoided a calamity by accident. Therefore, they no longer rejected Yun Chujiu as much as before. They even invited Yun Chujiu to practice sword techniques with them. Yun Chujiu was naturally more than happy to do so. If she wanted to establish herself in the nameless sword sect, she had to first have her own power. These core disciples would be the pillars of the sect in the future. It would be beneficial to have a good relationship with them without any harm. These core disciples all used the space-shattering sword technique. They originally thought that Yun Chujiu wouldn't be able to withstand even 10 of their moves, but they didn't expect Yun Chujiu to use the 7 stars sword technique to withstand more than 30 moves. Everyone looked at Yun Chujiu in a new light. Although she had borrowed the effect of the sword intense stacking together, this was also her ability. That afternoon, Yun Chujiu heard the follow-up progress of the matter from these disciples. Island Master Qi personally came to see Master Ouyang. He apologized and gave Zhuang Hong some elixirs and spirit tools to express his apology. Although Master Ouyang was unhappy, he couldn't do anything about it. After all, this was the territory of the Flying Flower Island. In the end, he could only let it go. However, because the poison of the Iron Claw poisonous octopus was very overbearing, although Zhuang Hong's life was not in danger, his face was completely ruined. Even if he recovered in the future, there would be ugly scars left behind. Yun Chuzhou finally came to a realization. That little bitch, Xiao Yu, probably had this idea all along. Even if she lived in that courtyard, she wouldn't really kill her. Instead, she would destroy her appearance. How vicious. She narrowed her eyes. Xiao Yu didn't manage to plot against her this time, so she was probably so frustrated that she wanted to bang her head against the wall. The more she thought about it, the more she felt that she had done this matter beautifully. She only said a few words and shed a few tears. Not only did she avoid Xiao Yu's plot, but she also tricked Zhuang Hong. In the end, she even got into a relationship with those successive disciples. It was simply killing 3 birds with 1 stone. Just as Yun Chuzhou was feeling happy, Chu Fang ran over. Junior sister Yun, the sect leader wants you to go to the living room. Tower Master Luo Chen is here and wants to see you. Yun Chuzhou really wanted to say no, but thinking about it, since she had already come to the whale feast, it was inevitable for her to meet Lan Luo Chen. She might as well go over openly. She wanted to see what this scum wanted to do. Chapter 4097 Yun Chuzhou walked unhurriedly into the living room, and it was filled with cheers and laughter. Yun Chuzhou laughed coldly in her heart. Look, even the personal disciple of the sect leader, Zhuang Hong, was disfigured, but wasn't everyone still living happily? If it wasn't for her vigilance, she wouldn't even have a place to cry. Therefore, she had to remain vigilant at all times. This fellow sighed as she walked in. The moment she walked into the guest hall, everyone stopped joking and their gazes fell on her. Tower Master Luchen's gaze was deep as he looked at Yun Chuzhou, but he averted his gaze in an instant, as though the two of them had never interacted before. Xiao Yu watched from the side and her heart rejoiced. Could it be that Tower Master Luo Chen had already given up on this slut? If that was the case, wouldn't she have a chance? Yun Chuzhou didn't even glance at Tower Master Luo Chen, so she naturally didn't notice the change in his expression. She obediently greeted Tower Master Ouyang and the others. Tower Master Ouyang smiled and said, Tower Master Luo Chen mentioned that you represent the southern continent this time, so he asked you to come over and talk about this whale feast. Yun Chuzhou said some polite words and thought to herself, well put, the nonsense about representing the southern continent might not be a bad idea. However, with the light of representing the southern continent, Yun Chuzhou managed to get a seat. Although she was at the end of the line, she was at least better than those who were standing. Not only were Island Master Qi and Tower Master Luo Chen present, Island Master Luo of Ascension Island, Sect Master Chen of Shuangwu Sect, and Sect Master Huang of Xuanji Sect were also present. They must have come to watch the show. After all, Zhuang Hong's matter could be big or small. After Yun Chuzhou took her seat, everyone continued to discuss about the whale feast. Island Master Qi smiled and said, this whale feast is easy to handle. I only need to ensure that everyone eats to their heart's content. It's just that we can't let those juniors idle while eating and drinking. We have to let them show off, right? Sect Master Huang of Xuanji Sect laughed loudly. Island Master Qi, it's an old rule to compete once every 10 years. Why are you beating around the bush? Just tell me, how does your Flying Flower Island want to compete? Seeing this, Island Master Qi couldn't keep him in suspense any longer. He smiled and said, our Flying Flower Island has a trial island which is specially used for disciples' trials. Danger lurks everywhere on the island. Even if we join forces, we can only stay there for 10 days at most. Hearing this, Sect Master Huang and the others were immediately interested. Even if they joined forces, they could only stay there for 10 days at most. This trial island was rather interesting. Sect Master Huang asked with a faint smile, this trial island is indeed interesting. I just don't know what the rules are. How do we determine the victor? Also, your Flying Flower Island's disciples are very familiar with the trial island. Isn't this taking advantage of us? Island Master Qi said with a smile, as usual, each sect will send out 50 disciples. The limit is 3 days. In the end, whichever sect has more people will win. Of course, because our flying flower island has the geographical advantage, we will only send out 20 disciples to participate in the competition. What do you all think? Sect Master Huang and the others looked at each other. This method of competition was not bad. Moreover, the flying flower island only sent out 20 disciples, which was considered fair. Therefore, Sect Master Huang and the others nodded their heads in agreement. Seeing this, the smile on Island Master Chi's face became even brighter. Since everyone has agreed, then this lottery will still be 1 billion upper-grade spirit stones from each sect. How about it? Hearing this jackpot, Yun Chujiu couldn't help but twitch her lips. With such a grand display, she had thought that the reward would be very generous, but it turned out that it was only so little. Chapter 4098 That she did not know whether to say or not. Yun Chujiu did not even think about it. Each clan had 1 billion, which added up to 6 billion. To the 6 great sects, it was definitely not a small amount. After all, there were not many people in this world who were richer than her, the Iron Rooster. Moreover, the ultimate goal of the 6 great sects was not to split these spirit stones, but to get a good ranking. Ranking represented strength. The higher the ranking, the more authority one had. The more small and medium-sized forces came to seek refuge, which also meant that there would be more and more money. Following that, everyone began to discuss some details. Hei Xinjiu was focused on fighting with the tea and snacks on the table. Anyway, this had nothing to do with her. Zhuang Hong was right. She was just here to eat for free. After everyone discussed the general idea, it was also time for dinner. Hei Xinjiu originally thought that Tower Master Luo Chen and Xiao Yu would come up with something, but everything was as usual. Tower Master Luo Chen did not even speak to her. Nothing happened until the end of the banquet. Yun Chujiu could not help but wonder why Lan Luo Chen and Xiao Yu were so quiet. Could it be that they were hatching some bad ideas? Unexpectedly, when the banquet ended, Tower Master Luo Chen walked to Yun Chujiu's side. Yun Chujiu frowned and was about to use the excuse to leave when she heard Tower Master Luo Chen say, "Little Jiu, I've thought through some things during this period of time." Yun Chujiu's footsteps paused. This Lan Luo Chen had completely come to a realization. Had he decided not to pester her in the future? Tower Master Luo Chen looked at her with a burning gaze, then, he said, "Little Jiu, I forced you too hard in the past, so you had a bad impression of me. Don't worry, I won't force you in the future. I believe that one day, you will accept me. Also, don't worry. No matter what you do to me, my feelings for you will not change. Unless I die, I will not give up on you." Everyone heard Tower Master Luo Chen's words and sighed in their hearts. This Tower Master Luo Chen really had a deep affection for Yun Chujiu. It was just a pity that the falling flower was intentionally flowing water without any emotions. This Yun Chujiu really did not know how to cherish it. However, Tower Master Luo Chen's words were so touching this time. Perhaps she would agree to it. Xiao Yu almost broke the handkerchief in her hand. She originally thought that Tower Master Luo Chen had given up on this bitch Yun Chujiu. She did not expect him to have such deep feelings for her. It was simply infuriating. She had to think of a way to kill this bitch Yun Chujiu. Otherwise, she wouldn't have the chance to marry Tower Master Luo Chen. Just as everyone was looking at Yun Chujiu with eager eyes, the corners of Yun Chujiu's mouth curled up. "I have something I want to say to Tower Master Luo Chen, but I don't know if I should say it." Tower Master Luo Chen's eyes lit up, and his entire person seemed to brighten up. "Say it, just say it." Yun Chujiu said word by word, "What I want to say is, you can go to hell." Instantly, everyone fell silent. They never expected Yun Chujiu to say such a sentence. The meaning of this sentence was self-evident, which was to make Tower Master Luo Chen give up completely. Xiao Yu looked at Yun Chujiu and did not know how she felt in her heart. On one hand, when she saw Yun Chujiu reject Tower Master Luo Chen so resolutely, she heaved a sigh of relief in her heart. But at the same time, she felt indignant. Yun Chujiu, this ungrateful bitch, actually rejected Tower Master Luo Chen so decisively. Was she blind? Tower Master Luochen was stunned at first, then the light in his eyes completely dimmed, and his entire being seemed to sink into gloom. Chapter 4099 was abandoned like a broken shoe. Yun Chujia's entire body tensed up. She was on full alert. She planned in her heart that once Tower Master Luochen made trouble, she would rush behind Tower Master Ouyang. He wouldn't be able to do anything to her. Tower Master Ouyang frowned. Just as he was about to defend Yun Chujio, he saw Tower Master Luochen laughing into the sky. He was laughing so hard that tears were coming out of his eyes. Yun Chujio shrunk her neck. Was she crazy? Fuck, it would be better if she laughed to death. In the midst of shock, Tower Master Luochen stopped laughing. He said to Yun Chujio, "Little Jiu, you are still so interesting." "You are right. Between you and me, we will not rest until one of us dies. So as long as I still have a breath left, I will not give up." After saying that, Tower Master Luochen did not care about Yun Chujia's reaction. He turned around and left. Master Ouyang and the rest also left, but Xiaoyu stayed behind. She looked at Yun Chujio coldly and said, "Yun Chujio, Tower Master Luochen is deeply in love with you, but you abandoned him like a broken shoe. You are really blind." Yun Chujio chuckled and said, "Miss Xiaoyu, since you have the time to mind your own business, why don't you train a few more iron-clawed poisonous octopuses? After all, there are still a few wells on Hibiscus Island." Xiaoyu's expression changed and she roared, "You, what nonsense are you spouting?" Yun Chujio shrugged her shoulders. "It's just a joke, why are you so nervous? There's an idiom that says enough is enough. Miss Xiaoyu, go back and experience it properly. Oh right, let me remind you that there are only two outcomes for those who oppose me. One is that they are already dead, and the other is that they are about to die." After Yun Chujio finished speaking, she did not care about Xiaoyu's reaction and hummed a little tune as she left. Xiaoyu was so angry that her head was buzzing. She had always been smooth sailing. Other than being rejected by Tower Master Luochen, she had never encountered such humiliation. "Yun Chujio, you are courting death." Xiaoyu gritted her teeth and stared coldly at Yun Chujia's back before turning around and leaving. After a while, a person stood up from behind a bush a few hundred feet away from their conversation. It was Chu Fang. Yun Chujio and Xiaoyu did not lower their voices, so Chu Fang listened intently. He did not mean to eavesdrop, but he had come to find Elder Gu for some matters. He did not expect to hear their conversation. His expression was a little dull because he had captured some information from their conversation. Could it be that junior sister Yun had deliberately switched courtyards with martial uncle Zhuang? Could it be that everything had been planned by junior sister Yun? This was too terrifying. She had only said a few words and shed a few tears, but she had already caused martial uncle Zhuang's face to be disfigured. Chu Fang could not help but rejoice. Fortunately, he had not offended Yun Chujio. Otherwise, he probably would not even know how he died. Yun Chujio did not know that Chu Fang had already seen through her true colors of the Black Lotus. After this fellow returned to the courtyard, he pondered over the matter just now. She had a feeling that Xiaoyu definitely had a backup plan. Also, that Lan Luchen's words were even better than his singing. She had to be careful. The next day, the whale feast began. The whale feast was divided into 3 parts. The first part was for everyone to eat and drink together. Everyone would be happy and everyone would be happy. After that, the matters of the competition would be announced. The second part was the main event, which was the competition between the 6 great sect's successive disciples. After the competition ended, it was the third part of the whale feast. Everyone would gather once again to eat and drink. At the same time, they would summarize the situation of the competition and split some spirit stones. Then, the whale feast would come to an end. However, to Hei Xinjiu, this whale feast was just 2 good meals, and she could also watch the fun. Unexpectedly, on the first night of the competition, Yun Chujio was called over by Master Ouyang. Chapter 4100 Jade Token. After Yun Chuzhou arrived at the place, she realized that not only was Sect Master Ouyang there, Elder Wan and the others were also there. This fellow was a little apprehensive. What happened? After Master Ouyang saw her, he went straight to the point and said, each sect has to send 50 true disciples to participate in the competition tomorrow. Originally, our Nameless Swords sect had 50 disciples, but Zhuang Hong's injuries haven't improved. I'm afraid he won't be able to participate in the competition. So, we've discussed it and decided to let you take Zhuang Hong's place to participate in the competition. You don't have to worry. Every disciple who enters the trial island will carry a jade token with them. As long as the jade token is activated, it will be sent outside. There won't be any danger. Yun Chuzhou, what happened to coming here for free food? What happened to coming here to watch the show? This fellow thought again. Zhuang Hong was tricked by her. Did this count as throwing a stone at her own feet? After all, if Zhuang Hong wasn't injured, he wouldn't have let her take his place. This fellow had always been tactful. Since so many people were present, it was obvious that they had discussed this beforehand. She had to agree or not. Hence, this fellow nodded her head and agreed without hesitation. She even swore to give it her all. The corners of everyone's eyes twitched. You're just a passerby. I reckon that you'll be eliminated as soon as you enter. What's the use of fighting? The next day, the disciples of the 6 great sects who wanted to participate in the competition gathered on the main island of the Flying Flower Island. Island Master Qi of the Flying Flower Island said some things to take note of. It was nothing more than words like, no flying and no talisman. He then distributed a jade token to everyone. He Xinjiu had suffered a loss from a jade token, so this fellow secretly broke the jade token in his hand into 2 pieces. Then, he raised his claws and said, why is this jade token of mine broken? Please give me another one. Xiao Yu's pupils constricted as she clenched her teeth in anger. She had indeed done something to the jade token, but why was the jade token broken all of a sudden? Of course, she did not suspect that Yun Chuzhou was the one who broke it. She only thought that it was her subordinates who did not do a good job and was filled with resentment. The person in charge of distributing the jade token was sweating profusely, but it was not good to do anything in front of everyone. He could only give Yun Chuzhou a jade token that had no problems. He Xinjiu put the jade token into her storage ring and curled the corners of her mouth. These were all tricks played by others. Couldn't they be a little more creative? Seeing that there was nothing else, Island Master Qi signaled that the teleportation formation could be activated. After everyone stepped into the teleportation formation, a dazzling light flashed and everyone disappeared from the spot. The teleportation formation was randomly scattered. Therefore, when Yun Chuzhou regained her sight, there was no one else around. Just as she was about to look around, she heard the sounds of a fight coming from not far away. Io, they were fighting already. She retracted her aura and moved closer to the place where the fight was taking place. She realized that it was someone she knew. Chu Fang and Fang Zheng were fighting with a strange-looking demon beast. The demon beasts on Trial Island were all illusions, and they were different from the demon beasts in real life. Many of them had combined several types of demon beasts together, making them even more powerful. For example, the demon beast in front of him had the powerful body of an earth-type demon beast, as well as the wind blade attacks of a gold-type demon beast. Chu Fang was forced to retreat continuously, and he was in a sorry state. Yun Chuzhou looked at the direction of the wind and ran to the upwind. She shouted clearly, "Hey! Ugly freak, release my senior brother Chu quickly, or I'll kill you." Chapter 4101 Rao Beast. Both the demonic beast and Chu Fang were stunned for a moment, but Chu Fang's reaction was faster. Taking advantage of this moment, he leaped to Yun Chuzhou's side and said loudly, "Junior sister Yun, this demonic beast is very difficult to deal with. Let's go quickly." Yun Chuzhou nodded and ran forward with Chu Fang. However, as this guy ran, he secretly turned his head to look. The demonic beast was stunned for a moment before it roared and chased after them. Hei Shinjo narrowed her eyes. Her all-purpose chili noodles was about to appear again. Just thinking about it made her a little excited. The demonic beast suddenly threw a big sack of chili noodles behind it. That unlucky demonic beast didn't know that humans had such a sinister trick. It choked miserably. Chu Fang was also dumbfounded. Just as he was about to turn around and deal with the demonic beast with Yun Chujo, he heard Yun Chujo say with a smile, "If you have to spare the beast, spare the beast. Let it live." Chu Fang was stunned, but he did not refute and continued to run with Yun Chujo. The demonic beast was choked with tears. However, when it heard Yun Chujo's last sentence, it was a little touched. This human girl was different from others. Yes, she was kinder. If it had heard the conversation between Yun Chujo and Chu Fang, it would not have thought so. After running for a distance and confirming that they were safe, Chu Fang asked in puzzlement, "Junior sister Yun, why didn't you take the opportunity to kill that demonic beast just now?" Yun Chujo replied, "It's just a mirage beast. You can't eat meat if you kill it, so why waste your spiritual energy?" Chu Fang, Yun Chujo looked around. The environment here did not look any different from an ordinary island. They were all common plants on the island. Other than the demonic beast that she had just encountered, there did not seem to be any danger. Of course, this fellow knew that this was just a facade. She hadn't forgotten what Island Master Chi had said. Even if the sect leaders of several sects joined forces, they would only be able to stay on the trial island for 10 days at most. It could be seen how dangerous this place was. Chu Fang came back to his senses and said, "Junior sister Yun, the most important thing now is that we find other disciples first. This way, our chances of survival will be higher." Yun Chujo nodded. The more people there were on the trial island, the more secure they would be. This was because not only did they have to fight against the demonic beasts, they also had to be wary of the people from other sections. After all, this was the way to ensure victory. Unfortunately, after walking for a while, the two of them did not find the nameless sword sect's people. Instead, they were blocked by the 6 disciples of the mysterious fog sect. The 6 disciples of the mysterious fog sect laughed out loud. What good luck, to actually meet 2 little weaklings who are alone. Do you want to activate the jade tokens yourselves or do you want us to help you activate the jade tokens? Chu Fang's face turned pale. It was over. 2 against 6, was there still a way to survive? Moreover, junior sister Yun was an inner sect disciple. Although she was ranked within the top 100, it was said that she had risked bad water to obtain it. Could it be that she could only activate her jade tokens? However, they had been eliminated right at the beginning of the trial. It was too embarrassing. Unlike Chu Fang, Yun Chujo had a calm expression on her face. She said unhurriedly, "Senior brothers, we are not your match anyway. Can you allow me to say a few words?" The 6 people saw that Yun Chujo was polite and tactful, so they said casually, "Say it. You are going to be eliminated anyway. I don't think you can play any tricks. Senior brothers, how do you estimate the ranking of this competition? What do you think the final ranking will be?" Yun Chujo asked with a smile. Chapter 4102 would be enough. One of the disciples said, "The 9 pavilions is the strongest, and the Flying Flower Island is the host. Even if they send fewer people, they would probably get the 2nd place. Since Ascension Island is also an island sect, they would probably get the 3rd place. As for the remaining 3 sects, we are evenly matched. It is normal to rank at the front or the back. It is really hard to estimate." Hearing that, Yun Chujo nodded. This senior brother is obviously farsighted. Your analysis is correct. Hearing Yun Chujo's words, the disciple showed a proud expression. Although you are very good at talking, I won't let you off. It can't be helped. This is a competition. Don't blame us for being merciless. Yun Chujo still had a faint smile on her face. She said unhurriedly, "Senior brothers, are you interested in doing something big together? This time, it wasn't just the 6 people from the mysterious fog sect. Even Chu Fang felt that Yun Chuzhou was 80% mentally ill. What nonsense was she spouting? Yun Chuzhou continued, you just said that if your mysterious fog sect and our nameless sword sect went through the trials step by step, they would definitely not be able to enter the top 3. But what if our 2 sects join forces? Although I can't guarantee that we will be able to bring down the 9 pavilions, it's more than enough to deal with the other 3 sects. When that time comes, regardless of whether you guys are ranked 2nd or we are ranked 2nd, this will be something that everyone will be happy about. What do you guys think? The 6 members of the mysterious fog sect and Chu Fang had dumbfounded expressions on their faces. Ah. So the trial can be played like this? They could even join forces to deal with other sects. They had never heard of such a method. However, when they thought about it, this method was too damn good. Gathering the strength of 2 sects to deal with 1 sect was as easy as floating in the air. This method was absolutely feasible. However, the mysterious fog sect disciple who spoke just now thought of a crucial question and said with a sneer, this method of yours is naturally good, but can you be the master of your nameless sword sect? I don't know who he is, but I do know you. Aren't you that Yun Chuzhou from the southern continent? I heard that you're just making up the numbers this time. Will those successive disciples listen to you? Yun Chuzhou straightened her back. She said with a hint of arrogance, as the saying goes, the orders of a ruler outside are not to be taken. What successive disciples and inner sect disciples are all matters outside of the trial island. In this trial island, strength is respected. If they don't agree, I'll beat them into submission. As soon as Yun Chuzhou said this, Chu Fang staggered. Junior sister Yun, did you beat them into submission, or did they beat you into submission? The 6 people from the mysterious fog sect clearly had the same thoughts as Chu Fang. They thought that this Yun Chuzhou was too shameless. How could a weakling like her beat others into submission? Just as they were thinking about it, Yun Chuzhou said, don't look down on me. Back then, I was only the daughter of a minister from a 3rd-grade small country in the southern continent. What happened after that? Didn't I still become the female emperor of the towering Sky Empire? Sometimes, my brain is better than my martial strength. You guys are so suspicious of me. Could it be that you guys don't have any credibility in the mysterious fog sect? Yun Chuzhou's method of goading them was immediately effective. The 6 people from the mysterious fog sect immediately expressed how they were in the mysterious fog sect. It was nothing more than bragging about their status in the mysterious fog sect. Of course, the reason why they were so confident was mainly because Yun Chuzhou's method was really brilliant. They were not afraid that the other disciples would not agree. Chapter 4103 had recruited 6 bodyguards. Yun Chuzhou waited until they were almost done bragging before she said with a smile, Senior brothers, I naturally believe what you said. You should also believe me this time. Since the 2 of us can't affect the overall situation, why not take a gamble? When the time comes, if our 2 sects achieve very beautiful results, you will also have a good reputation in the sect, right? The 6 people looked at each other and felt that what Yun Chuzhou said made sense. The 2 of them would not be able to stir up any big waves. Even if the alliance did not succeed in the end, there would not be any losses. They immediately said, all right, then I will spare you for the time being. You guys can go. Hearing this, Chu Fang's heart was finally relieved. Just as he was about to run away, he realized that Yun Chuzhou had no intention of leaving. Chu Fang was stunned. Was junior sister Yun stunned? Shouldn't she leave quickly? Wasn't she afraid that the people of the mysterious fog sect would go back on their words? Just as he was puzzled, he heard Yun Chuzhou say with a smile, Senior brothers, we have already formed an alliance. Naturally, we have to act together. Having more people means more effort, right? Chu Fang was about to cry. She was asking for the skin of a tiger. Wasn't she afraid that the 6 of them would change their minds on the way? The 6 people from the mysterious fog sect were stunned for a moment, but they finally agreed. She was right. Although her spiritual power was nothing to be proud of, the other person's strength was not bad. It would be good to have more help. Therefore, the 6-person line became 8-person line. After walking for a while, Hei Xingjiu blinked her eyes and said, "Everyone, it's too eye-catching for so many of us to act together. Why don't I be the bait? How about a mantis stalks the cicada and a oriole follows behind?" Chu Fang and the others opened their mouths wide. Ah! Ah! They more or less believed what she said about her brain being better than her martial arts. This guy was too mean. Therefore, Yun Chuzhou hummed a little tune and walked in front. Chu Fang and the others followed her at a distance, waiting for the unlucky guy to take the bait. It was also a coincidence. They did not walk far before they met a disciple of Flying Flower Island. When that disciple saw Yun Chuzhou, who was alone, he immediately blocked the way. With a sinister smile on his face, he said, "Oh, isn't this the famous Yun Chuzhou? I heard that you offended junior sister Xiao Yu a few times. You really have guts." Hearing his words, Yun Chuzhou only looked at him with a smile. However, that smile was very scary when he looked at that disciple. He said with a fierce expression but a weak heart, "What are you laughing at? Are you crazy? Die!" Yun Chuzhou leaped to the side and dodged his attack. Then, she said, "I'll activate the jade token myself. There's no need for you to do anything." That disciple snorted coldly. "You want to activate the jade token? That depends on whether you have the time or not. You're dead for sure today." Yun Chuzhou was stunned. "Senior brother, what do you mean? This is just a trial. If I activate the jade token, it means that I admit defeat. Why do you still want to kill me?" The disciple sneered. TSK, are you really stupid or are you pretending to be stupid? You offended our junior sister Xiao Yu, and you still want to leave here alive? Dream on. Yun Chujia's eyes deepened. It seemed that the people of Flying Flower Island really wanted to kill her. If she had encountered the attacks of many people from Flying Flower Island alone, she might not have had the time to activate the jade token. Fortunately, she had already kidnapped the 6 idiots from the Mystic Fog sect as bodyguards, so she could not kill him. If the 6 people from the mysterious Fog sect knew that this fellow had completely used them as bodyguards, they would probably be so angry that they would vomit blood. Yun Chuzhou whistled as she thought about it. Chu Fang and the others were already impatient from waiting. In an instant, they surrounded the disciple. Chapter 4104 Robbery. Don't let him have the time to activate the jade token, go! Yun Chuzhou shouted suddenly. Although Chu Fang and the others did not understand Yun Chujia's intention, they were in a hurry and almost subconsciously rushed forward. The disciple did not expect Yun Chuzhou to have a helper, and there were so many people. They were imprisoned on the spot without any resistance. Not to mention activating the jade token, they could not even move. Yun Chuzhou looked at him with a smile and said to Chu Fang, "Senior brother Chu, help me beat him up. As long as he lives, it will be fine." Chu Fang, why did he have to beat her up? She did not know how to beat herself up. Yun Chuzhou seemed to see through his doubts and said faintly, "She is a girl. It is not good to be too barbaric." The corner of Chu Fang's eyes twitched. His impression of Yun Chujia's Black Lotus was even more profound. He immediately punched and kicked the disciple. The disciple was beaten until he wailed like a ghost. "This is against the rules. When I get out, I will definitely seek justice. You will definitely be punished." Chu Fang's movements slowed down. Yun Chuzhou said faintly from the side, "Against the rules? Since this is a competition, we can't avoid fighting. Let alone hurting you, even if we kill you, who would know?" The disciple was both afraid and angry. "Our island master can replay everything that happened on the trial island through the array. If you kill me, you won't have a good ending." Yun Chuzhou was stunned. So there was such a thing. If someone harmed the disciples of the Flying Flower Island, Island Master Chi would check what happened on the trial island. But if Lan Yu killed her, Island Master Chi would find an excuse to say that there was a problem with the array and there was no way to replay it. TSK, how thoughtful. That disciple thought that Yun Chuzhou and the others were afraid. He immediately said arrogantly, "I've been caught by you. I admit defeat. Let me go and I'll activate the Jade Token. I'm warning you. If you continue to attack, I guarantee that you won't be able to get better after you get out." Chu Feng and the 6 people from the mysterious fog sect were indeed a little afraid. After all, there was a rule that no one's life would be harmed. If they were really discovered, it would not be easy to handle. What everyone did not expect was that Yun Chuzhou held a large kitchen knife and slashed the leg of that disciple. Although she did not cut it, it made the disciple scream like a pig. He screamed in pain as he screamed, "Yun Chuzhou, what me? I'm telling you, I've already recorded your previous threat to kill me. When that time comes, even if your Island Master Chi makes things difficult for me, I'm not afraid. At most, I'll fight to the death. Now, I'll give you a chance. Hand over all the valuable things on your body, or I'll cut off your legs. If you don't believe me, let's try." Yun Chuzhou still said these words with a smile. In the eyes of that disciple, that smile was like the king of hell urging him to die. When that disciple of Flying Flower Island saw that Yun Chuzhou was going to do it for real, he was instantly afraid. He immediately handed over all the things in his storage ring. Yun Chuzhou looked at it. Although she was not very satisfied, she knew that there was no more profit to be made. She then signaled for him to get lost. Although the disciple was gnashing his teeth in hatred, he did not dare to complain. He activated the Jade Token and disappeared in front of everyone. Yun Chuzhou smiled and said to the 7 stunned people, "Come, let's divide the spoils of war first. Although it's a little less, this is our first profit. Congratulations." After Yun Chuzhou said that, she immediately gave each of them 500,000 high-grade spirit stones and a few spirit tools to everyone. Chu Feng and the 6 people from the mysterious fog sect were so shocked that they didn't have any reaction. During the trial, they still robbed. Was this good? Also, this Yun Chuzhou didn't look like a disciple of a famous sect. She was simply a female robber. Chapter 4105, Miss Zhang will send you on your way. It took Chu Feng and the 6 people from the mysterious fog sect quite a while to come back to their senses. One of the disciples from the mysterious fog sect said, "Yun Chuzhou, aren't you afraid of being questioned by the Flying Flower Island when you go out by robbing them so brazenly?" Yun Chuzhou raised her eyebrows. "He is going to kill me, can't I get some money to spend?" No matter how unreasonable Island Master Chi is, there's nothing to be afraid of. You don't have to worry. At most, you are just an accomplice. I will take care of everything. For some reason, Chu Feng and the others felt like they had boarded a pirate ship. Anyway, things had already happened, so it was useless to say anything now. Besides, no one didn't like money. It was not bad to make a small fortune out of thin air. Therefore, everyone tacitly agreed that no one would say anything else. Yun Chuzhou waved her hand, indicating for everyone to step back and start fishing again. This time, she did not catch any fish, but instead, she caught a phantom beast that looked like a cow and a tiger. When the phantom beast saw Yun Chuzhou, it howled and charged forward. It looked like it wanted to tear Yun Chuzhou into pieces. Yun Chuzhou turned around and ran. As she ran, she shouted, "Hey, little baby, why are you chasing me? You are a phantom beast, can't you just stay here? Can't you leave a little beauty in your short life? Why do you have to do such a cruel thing like eating people? Besides, I'm so beautiful, do you have the face to eat me?" Chu Feng and the rest were speechless. What's the use of you kissing so much? The mirage beast was designed to attack the trial disciples. It would naturally attack when it saw a human. Would it give up because of your kissing? At this moment, Yun Chuzhou had already run to the place where they were hiding. Everyone did not have time to think and immediately began to surround and attack the Mirage Beast. Although the Mirage Beast was powerful, it was no match for them. Very quickly, it lost its ability to resist. Just as Chu Fang and the others were about to kill the Mirage Beast, Yun Chujiu, who was hiding at the side, said, "Wait, don't kill it first." Everyone didn't understand, but they still stopped attacking. Yun Chujiu looked at the dying Mirage Beast on the ground and tried to establish a spiritual connection with it. However, she found that she couldn't succeed. She thought to herself, it seemed that the Mirage Beasts here couldn't establish a temporary contract. Chu Fang and the others watched from the side. Finally, someone couldn't help but ridicule, "Save it. These Mirage Beasts aren't demonic beasts from the outside. There's no way to successfully control them. Moreover, even if you can control them, your spiritual power level is much lower than theirs. There's no way for you to succeed." Yun Chujiu frowned when she heard that. Then, she looked at the Mirage Beast in front of her and said indifferently, "Your only mission in life is to attack humans, right?" The Mirage Beast was quite intelligent. Naturally, it could understand Yun Chujiu's words. However, it only stared at Yun Chujiu with anger and bloodlust. It felt that Yun Chujiu was talking nonsense. This little human girl was most likely sick. If she wanted to kill, then kill her. Why did she say so much nonsense? Yun Chujiu sighed. "Don't you feel that living like this is very cowardly? There's a saying that life is as beautiful as summer flowers, and your life is full of good things. The only memory left behind is that you attacked a few humans. Is it interesting?" Before the Mirage Beast could react, Yun Chujiu continued, "Sigh, I'm also stupid. What's the use of talking to an uncultured idiot like you? I guess you think this is pretty good. Come, little sister, let me send you off and end your boring life." Chapter 4106. Her smile was really beautiful as Yun Chujiu spoke. She raised the large kitchen knife in her hand. The phantom beast's eyes no longer had the anger and bloodlust from before, only fear and confusion. As Yun Chujiu's large kitchen knife approached, it let out a low growl, mixed with unwillingness, resentment, and a little grievance. Was it going to die just like that? Although this little human girl was quite sick, there was one thing that was right. It had been muddled all its life. It did not know where it came from, nor did it know why it lived here. From the moment it became conscious, there was only one thought in its mind, and that was to attack the humans that had entered its territory. Its life was really sad. It closed its eyes and ended it. Perhaps its existence was a mistake. However, the pain that it had expected did not come. Instead, it heard the little girl's bell-like laughter. "Little baby, little sister is just teasing you. Little sister is the kindest, why would she kill you? Go away, you are free." The Mirage Beast opened its eyes and saw Yun Chujiu looking at it with a smile. Her smile was as pure as the bright sunshine. The magical beast looked at Yun Chujiu in disbelief. It could not believe what it had heard. This little girl said to let it go. How was this possible? However, when it tried to stand up, the little girl did not move at all. Moreover, she had stopped her companions and allowed it to leave their encirclement. Was she really going to let it go? Yun Chujiu waved her claws at it. "Little baby, enjoy your life as a beast. I have high hopes for you." The Mirage Beast turned its head and looked at Yun Chujiu's bright smile. For the first time, it had a definition of beauty in its heart. This little girl seemed to be different from other humans. Her smile was really beautiful. The Mirage Beast's footsteps paused, but it quickly disappeared from everyone's sight. The people from the mysterious fog sect looked at Yun Chujiu as if she was a lunatic. "Yun Chujiu, what are you doing? It's a Mirage Beast, not a human. It can't understand what you're saying. Besides, aren't you afraid of its comeback?" "That's right. You're letting the tiger return to the mountain. When it finds help, we'll be in trouble. Also, don't forget that we're in a cooperative relationship. Besides, there are only 2 of you. Why should we listen to you? Straighten your position. Yun Chujo was not angry after hearing their words. She just smiled and said, I am willing to be the bait and scout the way. If any of you replace me as the bait, I will obediently listen to his arrangements. The moment Yun Chujo said that, the 6 people of the mysterious fog sect fell silent. They were not stupid. Walking at the front was like walking on a meat target. If they were in danger, the people behind them could abandon her and escape by themselves. Only a fool would be the bait. Seeing that they were silent, Yun Chujo did not continue the topic. Instead, she said faintly, sometimes, demonic beasts have purer thoughts than humans. They won't take revenge on us. The 6 people from the mysterious fog sect scoffed. However, due to what happened just now, they did not say anything. In their hearts, they felt that Yun Chujo would be slapped in the face very soon. However, that did not matter. At worst, they could just abandon her and escape. Chu Feng revealed some worry on his face. However, when he thought of Yun Chujia's Black Lotus attribute, he did not dare to say it out loud. He would just do whatever she said. Chapter 4107 Tortoise and 8 Sects. Everyone paused for a moment and continued to walk forward. Perhaps it was because Yun Chujia's bait was too eye-catching, and they did not walk far before they caught 2 disciples from the Ascension Island. When the 2 disciples from the Ascension Island saw that Yun Chujo was alone and her spiritual power was so low, they felt that this was something that could be solved with their eyes closed. However, when they thought that they had succeeded, they were beaten black and blue by Chu Feng and the others who rushed over. Yun Chujo held a big kitchen knife and started to rob the money. Senior brothers, weren't you very arrogant just now? Why are you all mute now? Hand over your valuables, or else this trial island will be your grave. You are violating the rules. If we don't hand them over, do you really dare to kill us? The 2 disciples from Ascension Island were filled with hatred and fear. They were a little confused. These people were clearly not from the same sect. Why were they mixed together? TSK, are your brains not working? Rules? Here, my big kitchen knife is the rules. Who knows that we killed you? After all, it's normal to be bitten to death by the mirage beasts here, right? I'll count to 3. If you don't pay, I'll cut off your limbs first, then I'll kill you. 1, 2. The 2 disciples saw that Yun Chujo was serious and couldn't take it anymore, so they hurriedly shouted, pay, well pay. After they paid the money, Yun Chujo let the 2 people activate the jade tokens and disappeared on the spot. Yun Chujo divided the money in her hands evenly among the people. Although Chu Feng and the people of the mysterious fog sect were still a little uncomfortable, it was much better than the first time, and there was even a hint of joy in them. However, this joy did not last long because they had unfortunately met the people of the 9 pavilions, and there were as many as 10 of them. Everyone's head buzzed. They had no intention of fighting back. The spiritual power of the people of the 9 pavilions was higher than theirs, and there were 2 more people than them. Even if they tried their best, they still had no chance of winning. The leader of the Xuanwu sect said to the people of the 9 pavilions, everyone, there's no need for you to do anything. We will activate the jade token ourselves. After saying that, the disciple was about to activate his jade tokens when he was stopped by Yun Chujo. She said coldly, is your mysterious fog sect so useless? Don't you even have the courage to fight? The disciple said with some embarrassment and annoyance, what do you know? The people of the 9 pavilions were generally 1 to 2 levels higher than us in terms of spiritual power. Moreover, we have 2 fewer people than them. Moreover, you are just a passerby. If you don't surrender, are you waiting to be tortured? Humph. Yun Chujo snorted, it seems that your Xuanwu sect is only a so-so. At the critical moment, you are just cowardly turtles. Why don't you change your name to Turtle Son of Bitch sect? The 6 disciples of the Xuanwu sect were almost angered to death. Immediately, they did not bother to activate the jade tokens and began to attack Yun Chuzhou and Chu Fang. No matter what, they had to deal with this wretched girl first. The people from the 9 pavilions were dumbfounded. They were already puzzled when they saw the people from the mysterious fog sect and the nameless sword sect mingling together. Why were they fighting now? As they were a little dumbfounded, when the battle spread to the vicinity of one of them, he subconsciously dodged his body. Yun Chuzhou jumped out from the gap, Chu Fang followed closely behind, and the people from the mysterious fog sect followed closely behind. At this moment, Yun Chuzhou shouted in a low voice, "A bunch of idiots. If we don't run now, when will we retreat?" The people of the mysterious fog sect were stunned for a moment, but they quickly reacted and ran wildly behind Yun Chuzhou. The people of the 9 pavilions, damn it, they were fooled. Chase. Chapter 4108. Our meat is delicious. Chu Fang panted as he ran and said, "Junior sister Yun, we can't run like this. Their spiritual power is higher than ours. Sooner or later, they will catch up with us." Yun Chuzhou didn't say anything. She didn't have a good idea, but she was disqualified just like this. She was really unwilling. How embarrassing. Of course, what this guy cared about more was that he had only robbed 3 people. If he left now, wouldn't it be a pity? A disciple of the mysterious fog sect said, "Yun Chuzhou, I heard that Tower Master Luochen of the 9-storied pavilion asked to marry you, didn't he? Why don't you talk to them and let us go? Why are we being chased like stray dogs?" Yun Chuzhou felt disgusted when she heard Tower Master Luchen's words. She said snappily, "Don't mention that scum in front of me. Besides, if those people had the intention to let us go, they wouldn't have surrounded us just now." The 6 people of the mysterious fog sect felt that Yun Chuzhou had a problem with her brain. Every woman in the world was clamoring to marry Tower Master Luochen, but she actually avoided them. However, what she said made sense. The people of the 9 pavilions didn't show any mercy at all. It seemed that in Tower Master Luchen's heart, this Yun Chuzhou was nothing. While they were talking, the people of the 9 pavilions were getting closer and closer to them. The 6 people of the mysterious fog sect had the idea to activate the jade token again, but they heard Yun Chuzhou say to them, "Don't you want to make a fortune? Don't you want to make a name for yourself in the sect? Do you want to give up just like that? A bunch of cowards." The faces of the 6 people from the mysterious fog sect flushed red. Of course, they didn't want to leave with their tails between their legs, but how could they possibly defeat those people from the 9 pavilions? In fact, Yun Chuzhou didn't have any good ideas. If she wasn't afraid of exposing her secret, she could use the strength of 8 people to deal with those people from the 9 pavilions. The problem was that she didn't want to expose her secret. Just as Yun Chuzhou was worrying, she heard a few beast roars. She looked towards the source of the sound and saw 3 mirage beasts running over from the bushes. The people of the mysterious fog sect saw that it was over. There were demonic beasts in front of the pursuers, so they could only choose to give up. Yun Chuzhou's eyes lit up. This guy was best at borrowing beasts to kill people. She waved her claws at the 3 mirage beasts in front of her and shouted, "My lords, we are here to offer ourselves. Come and eat us. Our meat is very delicious." The people of the mysterious fog sect all widened their eyes. This Yun Chuzhou had completely gone mad. They actually imagined that she had a way to escape. Bullshit. It was better to activate the jade token as soon as possible. Unexpectedly, Yun Chuzhou gave them a sign to stay calm. They gritted their teeth and waited to see what this Yun Chuzhou was up to. The 3 mirage beasts were also dumbfounded. Although their knowledge was limited, they knew that all humans were afraid of death. Could these people be the legendary fools? However, they thought that it would be a waste not to eat them. Who cared if they were fools or not? Therefore, the 3 mirage beasts growled as they approached Yun Chuzhou and the others. Everyone even saw that the mouths of the 3 demon beasts were already drooling. Chu Fang and the others felt their legs go weak. They held the jade tokens tightly in their hands. They were prepared to activate the jade tokens immediately if something went wrong. However, Yun Chujo was still smiling as she said, "My lords, not only do we have to sacrifice ourselves to you, we have also brought you reserve rations. Do you see the 10 people behind us? Those are the delicacies that we have carefully selected for you." Chapter 4109 Joined forces. Chu Fang and the others' faces were stiff. What was going on? Could the 3 mirage beasts believe what she said? The 3 mirage beasts looked into the distance and saw 10 people running towards them. However, did this little girl really think that they were fools? Those 10 people were chasing after them, right? Humans were really a species that was full of lies. The 3 mirage beasts roared in anger. Chu Fang and the others were so scared that they were about to activate the jade tokens in their hands when they heard Yun Chujo continue, "My lords, do you think that I want to use you to kill them?" "Yes, you guessed it right. I didn't want to lie to you in the first place. After all, you are all so intelligent. I can't lie to you at all." Chu Fang and the rest were even more confused. Yun Chujo had told them the truth. What was she trying to do? The 3 mirage beasts were stunned. However, after hearing Yun Chujia's praise for them, their roars calmed down for the time being. "My lords, we hate those 10 people to death. That's why we came up with such a desperate idea. In addition, those 10 people are from the 9 pavilions. Of course, you have probably never heard of the 9 pavilions. In short, that 9 pavilions is not something. Their favorite thing is to kill mirage beasts. Countless mirage beasts have died in their hands. They even said that mirage beasts are the lowest species in the world. They are nondescript monsters and brainless trash." Hearing Yun Chujia's words, the 3 mirage beasts were about to explode. Their long fur stood on end as they let out an earth-shattering roar. At this moment, the 10 people from the 9 pavilions had already caught up. They were less than 1,000 feet away from Yun Chujo and the others. They only heard the roars of the 3 mirage beasts and did not hear Yun Chujia's previous words. They couldn't help but gloat over Yun Chujia's misfortune. It seemed that the 8 people in front of them would be eliminated without their help. When the roars of the 3 mirage beasts quieted down a little, Yun Chujo lowered her voice and said, "My lords, how about this? Well, take care of the 10 people together, and then you 3 will eat us. Anyway, you're so strong. You won't be afraid of us little dregs, right?" The 3 mirage beasts looked at each other. This idea was not bad. With their strength, they had no certainty of winning against those 10 people. If they worked together with these 8 scums, they would have a good chance of winning. Moreover, these 8 scums were as timid as mice at a glance, so they were not afraid of them playing any tricks. Therefore, the 3 mirage beasts nodded and agreed with Yun Chujia's idea. Yun Chujo immediately beamed with joy and said, "The 3 lords are indeed wise. Let's go. Let's finish off those stored rations first before eating us. We can die without regrets." As Yun Chujo spoke, she took the lead and leaped towards the people from the 9 pavilions. Chu Fang and the others' legs went weak as they staggered and followed her. This Yun Chujo actually managed to convince the 3 mirage beasts. How was she going to escape in a short while? Was she going to activate the jade token? However, this was also good. At the very least, the people from the 9 pavilions would not benefit from this. The 10 people from the 9 pavilions were originally watching the show calmly. Who would have thought that Yun Chujo and the others would actually lead the 3 mirage beasts to attack them? What was going on? Why would the 3 mirage beasts help them? Before they could react, Yun Chujo and the 3 magical beasts had already arrived. Without any explanation, the 2 sides fought together. Chapter 41:10 The plan of the Flying Flower Island. For a moment, the screams of people and the roars of mirage beasts mixed with the light of spiritual power attacks, intertwined together. At first, the 3 mirage beasts were still staring at Yun Chujo and the others warily, but seeing that they were fully focused on fighting with the people of the 9 pavilions, they gradually let down their guard. Although the strength of the 10 people of the 9 pavilions was extraordinary, the 3 mirage beasts were powerful, and with the help of Yun Chujio and the others, they soon fell into a disadvantage. A few of them were seriously injured and activated their jade tokens directly. When the 3 mirage beasts saw that the people had disappeared without a reason, they became even more irritated and angry, and their attacks became even more fierce. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. She felt that the time was right, so she made a gesture to Chu Fang and the 6 people from the mysterious fog sect to escape. Chu Fang and the others were stunned. They thought that they were going to activate their jade tokens, but it seemed like they were going to escape. Could they escape? Yun Chujio made another gesture to raise the spiritual energy shield. Although Chu Fang and the others didn't understand, they still did it. Almost at the same time that they raised the spiritual energy shield, Yun Chujio threw out a few big sacks. The chili powder inside flew in all directions. Whether it was the remaining people of the 9 pavilions or the 3 mirage beasts, they were all choked to the point of tears, they couldn't even open their eyes. Yun Chujio took Chu Fang and the others and ran away. The 8 of them ran all the way until the sky was dark. Only then did they find a leeward place to sit down on the ground, breathing heavily. This day could be said to be soul-stirring. They had thought that they were going to be eliminated, but they actually escaped. At this time, the 6 people of the mysterious fog sect looked at Yun Chujio with less contempt and more fear. Although Yun Chujio's spiritual power was very low, she was full of bad ideas. If they provoked her, they would not have a good ending. After they had eaten, except for the 2 people in charge of guarding, the rest of them began to meditate and rest. At this moment, the sound of footsteps came from afar. Everyone was shocked. Yun Chujio made a hand gesture, indicating that everyone should disperse and act according to the situation. Chu Fang and the rest were already used to Yun Chujio's arrangements, so they did not hesitate to hide themselves and carefully looked into the distance. Yun Chujio saw the people coming and narrowed her eyes. It was actually people from the Flying Flower Island. And with a quick glance, there were at least 15 people. Could it be that they were all teleported to the same place? Junior sister Xiao Yu, why is the trial island so much easier than usual? With such difficulty, wouldn't our Flying Flower Island lose miserably in the end? After all, there are only 20 of us. That's right, junior sister Xiao Yu. I've been to the trial island before. The island is filled with danger, and there's danger everywhere. How can this be? What's going on? Xiao Yu pursed her lips, then, she said, this is Master's brilliance. Let them be numb for a moment, and they will think that this trial island is nothing more than this. When the real test comes, there won't be many people left on this trial island. When the disciples of the Flying Flower Island heard this, they all came to a sudden realization, one after another, they flattered, the sect leader is indeed clever. Not to mention other things, almost all of us have been teleported to the same place. There are at least dozens of disciples who have been eliminated along the way. How delightful! In this year's competition, only the 9 pavilions can slightly suppress us. The other sects can't compete with us at all. Ascension Island thought that they could compete with us, but unfortunately, they were teleported too close to us. We've already eliminated nearly 20 people, ha ha ha. Chapter 41:11 asked if they were angry. The people of the Flying Flower Island were talking and laughing happily. Junior sister Xiao Yu, it's a pity that we didn't meet that stinky girl Yun Chujio. Otherwise, we would have killed her to avenge you. That's right. That stinky girl can't be compared to our junior sister Xiao Yu in any way. Tower Master Luochen has fallen in love with that bitch for some reason. Junior sister Xiao Yu is so outstanding. Sooner or later, Tower Master Luochen will know who is the pearl and who is the target of the fish. Xiao Yu snorted coldly. There's no need to pay attention to that slut for the time being. The important matter is more important. While the sky is dark, we'll eliminate a few more people. Everyone agreed one after another and walked far away. Fortunately, their attention was on each other's conversation and they didn't discover Yun Chujio and the others who were hiding in the dark. After a while, Yun Chujio and the others confirmed that it was impossible for them to return, and then they let out a sigh of relief. Damn it, the people of the Flying Flower Island are too cunning. This is blatant cheating. When other sects were hosting, although they had the power of landlords, they were not so shameless. Exactly, they are too shameless. More than 10 people from the Flying Flower Island were teleported to the same place, and they are very familiar with the terrain here. When they meet people from other sects, it is like chopping melons and vegetables. It seems that most of the people around here have been eliminated. It is difficult for us to meet up with other sections. What's the use of insisting? Why don't we activate the Jade token and go out now? Yun Chujio secretly put the recording stone in her hand into her storage ring. She had recorded the words of those people from the Flying Flower Island. This thing might be useful. She narrowed her eyes. The Flying Flower Island was indeed quite shameless. She was afraid that her original plan would have to be adjusted. There were no other disciples in the vicinity. Moreover, if they continued to move forward, they might encounter the people from the Flying Flower Island. Therefore, it was best to stay put. When the so-called crisis erupted, she would act according to the circumstances. However, before that, she had to inspire the fighting spirit of these 6 idiots. In comparison, this fellow felt that Chu Feng was really too easy to worry about. He would do whatever she said. How would this fellow know that ever since Chu Feng found out that she had tricked Zhuang Hong, his heart had almost collapsed from fear? How would he dare to go against her? Yun Chujio rolled her eyes and said to the 6 people of the Black Fog sect, "Senior brothers, do you know why I resolutely decided to form an alliance with you previously?" The 6 people were stunned and looked at Yun Chujio in confusion. They didn't know why she suddenly said that. Yun Chujio continued, "This is because I see that the 6 senior brothers are people who will soar into the 9 heavens sooner or later. After interacting with each other for a day, my opinion has been confirmed. The 6 senior brothers are indeed the elites of the mysterious Fog sect. If it weren't for the 6 senior brothers who turned the tide, Senior Brother Chu and I would have been eliminated long ago." Although the 6 people of the mysterious Fog sect knew that Yun Chujio was flattering them, who wouldn't want to hear good words. Therefore, they kept silent and prepared to hear what Yun Chujio would say next. "Senior brothers, you saw the face of that scoundrel from the Flying Flower Island just now. I'm asking if you are angry." Yun Chujio gnashed her teeth and asked. The 6 people from the mysterious Fog sect immediately cursed. Of course, they were angry. The people from the Flying Flower Island were too shameless. When Yun Chujio saw their irrepressible anger, a glimmer of light flashed in her eyes. The fish had taken the bait. Chapter 41:12 Surging sea water. Yun Chujio let out a faint sigh. "To be honest, senior brothers, I'm even angrier than all of you. All of you have heard it too. That little bitch Xiao Yu wants to kill me. But is it useful to be angry? No matter how angry we are, the Flying Flower Island will still obtain the 2nd place in the end. It's also possible to obtain the 1st place." Hearing that, the 6 people of the mysterious Fog sect were a little discouraged. Yes, what was the use of being angry? They could only watch the Flying Flower Island scheme succeed. "Senior brothers, I have an idea. If it succeeds, I will make all of you become the heroes of the mysterious Fog sect. Do you want to hear it?" Yun Chujio said mysteriously. The 6 people of the mysterious Fog sect said anxiously, "If you have something to say, just say it. Don't keep us in suspense. Now, I don't think there are any more of our fellow disciples around us. Moreover, if we advance rashly, we might encounter the people of the Flying Flower Island. We are not their match, so the only thing we can do now is to lay low for the time being. Didn't Xiao Yu say that there would be a crisis? When the time comes, we will wait for an opportunity to make a move. Perhaps, we might be able to fish in troubled waters and have a chance to eliminate those people from the Flying Flower Island. Even if we don't succeed, you guys will still be able to stay until the end. That would be a very honorable thing. Yun Chujio said with a smile. The 6 people from the mysterious fog sect instantly revealed a somewhat yearning expression. If at that time, most of the people would be eliminated, but they stayed at the end, regardless of whether it was the sect master or their fellow disciples, they would all look at them in a new light. This was indeed very impressive. Chu Fang watched Yun Chujie's performance from the side and lit a candle for the 6 people from the mysterious fog sect. Junior sister Yun had firmly grasped their weakness and was afraid that in the end, she would be betrayed by junior sister Yun and would have to help count the money. However, he was not optimistic about the future. That Xiao Yu said that the peace in front of them was only temporary and that there would be an even greater danger coming. When that time came, would they be able to endure it? The next day, Yun Chujio and the others did not continue searching for their fellow disciples. Instead, they found a place to hide and were prepared to stop the storm with silence. Nothing unusual happened during the entire day. Not even a mirage beast appeared. The more it was like this, the more anxious everyone was. The calmer the storm was, it meant that the storm was coming even fiercer. What kind of sinister test was Flying Flower Island brewing? The sky gradually darkened. Yun Chujio and the others did not dare to rest, afraid that something would happen. However, it was already midnight, and nothing unusual happened. A disciple of the Xuanwu sect mumbled, "It seems that nothing will happen today. Tomorrow is the last day. I guess it will only happen tomorrow." Before the disciple could finish his sentence, something strange happened, and the sea water suddenly surged up. This was not the most frightening thing. After all, cultivators could hold their breath in the water for a period of time even if they did not rely on waterproof beads. The terrifying thing was that along with the sea water came ferocious sea beasts. Yun Chujio and the others were now surrounded by 2 sea beasts in the middle. Chu Fang and the others were panicking. So this was the plan of the Flying Flower Island. It was too fucking evil. They were not a sect of the island and were not good at fighting in the water. Moreover, they were told to train on the island at the beginning and did not say that they would train in the sea. They were not prepared at all. Now it seemed that not to mention their sects, even the 9 pavilions might not be a match for the Flying Flower Island. The Flying Flower Island would definitely win this competition. Even if they were unwilling, they could only give up. Chapter 41:13 The sea is full of water. A few people from the mysterious fog sect wanted to activate the jade token. No matter what they did, they would lose. Why would they persist? Forget it. Yun Chujio cursed in her heart when she saw their actions. If she had no other choice, she would not have bothered with these 6 idiots. However, she was in urgent need of manpower. Even if she did not fancy 100 of them, she could only make do with them. Hence, she handed each of them a handful of waterproof beads. The 6 people from the mysterious fog sect were stunned. Yun Chujio actually had waterproof beads on her body. She had prepared too well. With these waterproof beads, they felt a little more at ease. They all had gold spiritual roots. Although they could not compare to water's spiritual roots in the water, they were still much stronger than fire's spiritual roots and earth's spiritual roots. At the very least, they could still use wind blades to attack. At this time, the 2 sea beasts had already launched their attacks. Countless water arrows shot towards everyone. Everyone dodged while using wind blades to fight back. However, the speed and attack power of the wind blades were greatly reduced in the water, so the situation was not optimistic. Yun Chujio had no choice but to release De Hua. Chu Fang and the others were speechless when they saw the 4-legged De Hua. What was the use of releasing this thing? However, they soon saw De Hua's body grow bigger and bigger, and the color of her body also turned black. De Hua lazily swam towards one of the sea beasts, and did not even dodge the water arrow that the sea beast shot at her. Chu Fang and the others were very uncertain. Yun Chujie's spiritual beast looked very big, but could it be a match for the sea beast? However, they did not have time to think too much and quickly followed Yun Chujo to attack the other sea beast. Yun Chujo raised her hand and took out several small purple needles. Chu Fang and the others were shocked again. What was this thing? Was it also a materialization of spiritual power? But what kind of offensive power could this small needle have? Was it playing? The sea beast thought the same way. Such a small spiritual needle would not hurt it at all. Therefore, it did not dodge and continued to pounce on Yun Chujo and the others. Following that, the sea water was filled with the sound of continuous explosions, accompanied by the miserable cries of the sea beast. The sea water around it was also covered with blood-colored water. Chu Fang and the others were dumbfounded. What did they see? Those purple needles could actually explode? Oh my god, this Yun Chujo is a monster, right? Yun Chujo was simply speechless at these 7 idiots. Is this the time to be in a daze? She should take advantage of his illness to take his life. Thus, she fiercely kicked the disciple beside her and took the lead to rush towards the sea beast that was rolling around with a headache. Only then did Chu Fang and the rest regain their senses and also rushed over. The sea beast had already been injured by the small purple needle and was naturally not a match for Yun Chujo and the rest. After a battle, it finally died. At this time, another sea beast finally dispersed De Hua and rushed towards Yun Chujo and the others aggressively. Then, it saw another De Hua being pulled out in despair. After Yun Chujo and the others killed the remaining sea beast with De Hua, they floated to the surface of the sea. As far as the eye could see, there was no end to the sea. Not to mention land, there was not even an island. A disciple of the Xuanwu sect sighed and said, "Junior sister Yun, although you gave us the waterproof bead, we can't stay in the water forever. Let's activate the jade token." Yun Chujo had always despised these 6 people. Now, they wanted to give up several times. Her small face sank and she said with a cold tone, "Give up. I even suspect that you are not cultivators. You want to give up after such a little suffering? Do you still want to cultivate the great Tao? Forget it, I can't be bothered to persuade you. If you are willing to give up, then give up." Chapter 41:14, I have a boat. The 6 people from the mysterious fog sect were embarrassed when they heard Yun Chuji's words. For a moment, they didn't know whether to give up or persist. Chu Fang saw that the atmosphere was a little awkward, so he quickly smoothed it out. Senior brothers, junior sister Yun is also anxious, so her tone is a little heavy. For the sake of the sect's glory, we naturally have to persist, right? The 6 people from the mysterious fog sect looked at each other. Since there wasn't any danger for the time being, it was fine to persevere. Thus, one of the disciples said, "Junior brother Chu, we don't want to give up either. It's just that we're trapped in the sea right now. In the long run, our physical strength and spiritual power will decrease drastically. If we were to encounter another attack from the sea beasts or the people from the Flying Flower Island, we really won't be able to hold on. Sigh, it would be great if we had a boat. At least we would be able to catch our breath for a while. It's just that we don't have a boat." "I do," Yun Chujo said faintly. "Yes, I know you don't have one either. This is normal. Who would have thought that the Flying Flower Island would be so sinister and the boat would be so expensive? We don't have a boat either." "Ah, what did you say just now?" "I said, I have a boat." Everyone's eyes were fixed on Yun Chujo. Did they hear wrongly? She said she had a boat? Yun Chujo waved her hand and a boat appeared on the surface of the sea. Although it did not look like a high-grade boat, it was already very, very rare for them now. Everyone did not have time to say anything and hurriedly climbed onto the big boat. One by one, they collapsed on the deck. The feeling of standing firmly on the ground was too damn good. Only Yun Chujo stood at the bow of the ship and looked around. She didn't think that the Flying Flower Island was so simple to get them into the sea. The spiritual power of the 2 sea beasts that attacked them previously wasn't high, and there was probably an even more dangerous test. Just as Yun Chujo was thinking about it, the sea surface that was originally calm suddenly became stormy, and it became bigger and bigger. The huge waves instantly overturned their ship into the water, and it sank to the bottom of the water. Fortunately, the few of them had waterproof beads. Otherwise, even if they could save their lives, they would still be in a very difficult situation. One of the people from the mysterious fog sect shouted, "Let's dive to the bottom of the sea. This way, we can avoid the wind and waves." Yun Chujo shouted, "Are you going to dive to the bottom and wait to be fed to that bastard? Why do you think there is such a big wind and waves? It's just to force the participants to the bottom of the sea. There must be an even more sinister trap at the bottom of the sea." Although the person from the mysterious fog sect was somewhat annoyed by Yun Chuji's roar, he thought that what she said made sense and could only say embarrassedly, "Then what should we do? Just stay in the water like this? I reckon that the storm should be intermittent. Just grit your teeth and endure it. After all, if the storm continues like this, the people of the Flying Flower Island won't be able to endure it," said Yun Chujo. Chu Fang and the others could only grit their teeth and persevere. Fortunately, they had waterproof beads, so they could hold on for a period of time. Finally, after 2 hours, the wind and clouds dissipated, and everything returned to calm. While everyone was happy, someone sighed. "It's a pity that our ship sank to the bottom of the sea. Even if there are no more wind and waves, we can only soak in the water." "I still have a boat," Yun Chujo said faintly. "Sigh, I know you don't have a boat. After all, boats are so expensive. How can you have two?" "What? You said you still have a boat?" Yun Chujo was too lazy to talk nonsense with these idiots. She directly summoned another boat. Chu Fang and the others only had one thought. This Yun Chujo was too damn rich. Chapter 41. 15 Gourd Dal. After everyone was stunned, they couldn't wait to climb onto the big ship. After all this trouble, it almost took half of their lives. They had to make some adjustments. Yun Chujo ate some food and said, "I guess this storm will definitely come again. The number of waterproof beads is limited. We have to think of a way." Actually, this guy still had a lot of waterproof beads, but this guy was stingy. Everyone looked at each other. Think of a way. Think of a way. They were not water-type spiritual roots. If they did not use waterproof beads, they would not be able to withstand such a big storm. Yun Chujo rummaged through her storage ring, and finally, her eyes lit up. This guy took out a bunch of large calabashes from the storage ring. These large calabashes were dried by Yun Chuji's hairball. Originally, she planned to keep them for the drifters to play with. Now, they could be used as a life buoy. Yun Chujo gave each of them 2 gourds and asked them to tie them around their waists. As the gourds were light and big, it was enough to ensure that they would not sink into the water. Chu Fang and the others were dumbfounded. Could this thing work? Yun Chujo did not waste any time. She kicked a disciple of the mysterious fog sect into the sea. The disciple was about to scold her when he realized that the 2 gourds around his waist really made him float on the sea. Everyone was immediately delighted. With these things, they could hold on for a while. Anyway, the trial would end tomorrow morning. If they gritted their teeth and persevered, they might really be able to hold on until the end. Just as everyone was chatting and laughing, another storm arose. Yun Chujo learned from her mistakes and did not wait for the storm to grow before she kicked Chu Fang and the others into the sea. Then, she stored the boat into her storage ring. What a joke! No matter how rich she was, she could not waste it like this. Chu Fang and the others struggled in the sea for nearly 2 hours with the big gourd on their waists. Finally, the sea returned to its calm state. They climbed onto the big boat and collapsed on the deck. Although the big gourd could guarantee that they wouldn't drown, the wind and waves were also very uncomfortable on their faces. It was very exhausting. Chu Fang realized later that Yun Chujo wasn't tied to the gourd. He asked in confusion, "Junior sister Yun, why aren't you tied to the gourd?" Yun Chujo blinked her eyes. I still have some waterproof beads in my hands. Besides, I'm such a pretty little girl. How ugly would it be if I tied those two things? You guys are different. You're already ugly. It doesn't matter how ugly you are. Chu Fang and the others, they finally realized that it was most likely because they had boarded her pirate ship. Now, her words were getting more and more sarcastic. Yun Chujo suddenly started giggling. This was because when this fellow saw Chu Fang and the others, a familiar melody appeared in his mind. Gourd doll, 7 flowers on a vine. Chu Fang was a little scared by this fellow's laughter. He decided to change the topic. Junior sister Yun, the trial will end tomorrow morning. I'm afraid it will be very difficult to endure tonight. Furthermore, we haven't seen any other trial disciples up until now. We don't know if it's because they are different from our region, or if they have already been eliminated by the people of Flying Flower Island. Yun Chujo narrowed her eyes. Perhaps we are all separated from the trial at the moment, so we should be gathered together in the end. Just thinking about personally beating up that little bitch Xiao Yu makes me a little excited. The corners of Chu Fang and the others' eyes twitched violently. It was not certain who would beat up who. If they had a choice, they would rather not meet anyone from the Flying Flower Island. Chapter 41:16. I want to confess something to all of you. In the following period of time, there would be huge waves every 2 hours. Chu Fang and the rest had huge gourds tied around their waists. Although they were a little exhausted from being tormented, they were not in any danger. In the blink of an eye, it was daybreak. In another 4 hours, the trial would be over. Chu Fang and the rest let out a slight sigh of relief. As long as they could hold on for another 4 hours, they would be done. Unfortunately, while the idea was beautiful, the reality was cruel. The scene in front of everyone suddenly changed. The seawater suddenly disappeared and they returned to the island where the trial had been. While Chu Fang and the rest were still in a daze, Yun Chujo had already dragged them to hide behind a bush. Soon, a voice was heard. Junior sister Xiao Yu, there aren't many people left on the trial island, right? Our Flying Flower Island can be said to have achieved a complete victory this time. Previously in the sea, those landlubbers were almost eliminated. I reckon that even if there were some who managed to escape, there would be very few. In terms of numbers, they aren't as many as our Flying Flower Island. Even the 9 pavilions can only be ranked second this time. Junior sister Xiao Yu, Tower Master Luochen will definitely look at you in a new light this time. As for that Yun Chujo, she's probably long been eliminated. She's trash. Xiao Yu took out a jade slip and scanned it before saying, apart from us, there are only 8 people left on the trial island. Even if they are from the same sect, they can only be ranked second. Let's go. We don't need to search anymore. We just need to find a place to rest and wait for the competition to end. Xiao Yu's face was also very pleased. Although their Flying Flower Island had used some tricks in this competition, there was no lack of deceit in war. Even if others were unconvinced, they wouldn't be able to say anything. Following the voices, the people from the Flying Flower Island walked far away. After confirming that they had already walked far away, everyone heaved a sigh of relief and said one after another, that scared me to death. That Xiao Yu actually has a way to know how many people are left on the trial island. The Flying Flower Island is really shameless. According to what she said just now, other than the people from the Flying Flower Island, there are only the 8 of us left. However, if there are no other people, the Flying Flower Island is the first place, so wouldn't our Xuanwu sect be the second place? We have made a great contribution. Ha ha ha. As soon as this person's words left his mouth, the other disciples of the Xuanwu sect immediately revealed joyful expressions. As long as they hid their tracks well, the second place would not run away. It was not in vain that they had suffered for the past 3 days. Yun Chujia's eyes flickered as she took out half a basin of meat buns. Senior brother is right. We only need to wait here. Come, let's eat something first. Everyone was really hungry. They took the buns and started eating. Seeing that they had finished eating the buns, Yun Chujo said faintly, "Senior brothers, I have something to confess to you." Everyone was stunned. "What is it?" "The buns are poisonous," Yun Chujo said slowly. "What? Yun Chujo, are you crazy? Why did you poison us?" The 6 people from the mysterious fog sect and Chu Fong were all dumbfounded. Yun Chujo curled her lips. "It's very simple. You have no fighting spirit now. As for me, if I want to kick the Flying Flower Island from the first place, I have to give you a bit of fighting spirit." When everyone saw how shameless Yun Chujo was, they were almost driven mad. You're shameless. Hand over the antidote immediately, or else don't blame us for not being polite. Chapter 41:17 was too wicked. Yun Chujo shrugged indifferently. "You've seen my methods. You can't beat me. If you don't believe me, you can try. You can also activate the Jade token, but when the time comes, don't even think about getting the antidote. Also, this poison of mine is a secret recipe found in an ancient cave abode. Others can't solve it. If you don't have my antidote, your bodies will start to fester, and you'll only be left with a skeleton. TSK, that's really tragic. I can't even bear to continue." After listening to Yun Chuji's words, Chu Fong was a little better. He felt that as long as he was obedient, Yun Chujo wouldn't do anything to him. However, the 6 people from the mysterious fog sect were so angry that they were about to vomit blood. They had finally experienced what it meant to be shameless. What it meant to be sinister and cunning. At first, they thought that the Flying Flower Island was wicked enough, but they did not expect that Yun Chujo was even more wicked than them. They discussed with each other. To be honest, after interacting with each other for the past few days, they really did not dare to go head-to-head with Yun Chujo. Not to mention anything else, even that spiritual beast was very difficult to deal with. Most importantly, this stinky girl had poisoned them. What if she really fought to the death and refused to give them the antidote? What would they do then? Therefore, one of them gritted his teeth and said, "What exactly do you want?" "It's very simple. You guys follow me to deal with those scum from the Flying Flower Island. After the matter is done, not only will I help you detoxify the poison, but I will also let you guys make a small fortune." Yun Chujo said with a smile, however, she smiled like a wolf with a big tail. "Humph. That's easy for you to say. As you can see, there are only 12 people left on the Flying Flower Island. There are only 8 of us. How can we be their match? Junior Sister Yun, our Shuangwu sect is in 2nd place while your Nameless Sword sect is in 3rd place. Isn't that good? Don't cause any more trouble." The 6 people from the Profound Fog sect spoke in a flurry with only one goal, which was to make Yun Chujo give up the thought of fighting to the death with Flying Flower Island. The corners of Yun Chuji's mouth curled up. "I have always held grudges. It would have been fine if another sect had gotten 1st place, but that little bitch, Xiao Yu, just happened to be an eyesore to me, so she wants to get 1st place. No way." The 6 people of the mysterious fog sect wished they could strangle her to death. "You don't like her, but if you have the ability, why don't you go fight it out yourself? Why did you have to drag them down with you? Who did they offend?" Chu Fong felt that it was time for him to make his appearance, so he began to smooth things over. "Senior brothers, although Junior Sister Yun's methods are, well, a little special. But think about it on the way here. If it weren't for Junior Sister Yun, we would have been eliminated long ago. The actions of the Flying Flower Island are so sinister, so let's listen to Junior Sister Yun." The 6 people from the Mystic Fog sect could only go down the slope. The main reason was that they didn't dare to disobey He Xinjiu. However, what was she going to do? Would she be able to win 8 against 12? Yun Chujo spun around on the spot for a few rounds before her eyes lit up. She gathered the few of them together and started chattering. At this moment, the scene on the main island of the Flying Flower Island was very lively. Sect Master Huang of Xuanji Sect slapped the table. Island Master Qi, you're really something. Is this what you call a fair competition? You initially said that you would train on the island, but why did you change it to a sea trial? Island Master Qi smiled innocently. Sect Master Huang, don't be so agitated. I only said that it would be a trial on Trial Island. When did I say that it would only be a land trial on Trial Island? Moreover, I've already done it fairly. Out of the 3 days of trial, only half of the time is spent on the ocean. The rest is spent on land. Our Flying Flower Island has only sent 20 people. Isn't this fair? Chapter 41:18 was too early. Sect Master Huang was about to explode from anger when he saw Island Master Qi's fake smile. Fair? It is indeed fair. Our Xuanji sect has been completely annihilated, and your Flying Flower Island is the only outstanding one. There are still 12 people left. Island Master Luo from Ascension Island snorted coldly. It would have been fine if it was just a sea scene. However, I heard from the eliminated disciples that more than 10 of your Flying Flower Island's disciples have been teleported to a place not too far away. They worked together to eliminate many of our disciples from Ascension Island who were left behind. Island Master Qi is really good at scheming. Island Master Qi spread out his hands. This is the uncertainty of the array formation. It wasn't controlled by me. Besides, aren't there 8 other people inside? Sect Master Qin of the Mysterious Fog Sect stroked his beard and didn't say a word. Although he also thought that the Flying Flower Island was too damn shameless, the current result was unexpectedly good for him. There were still 6 people left in the Mysterious Fog Sect. It was even better than expected that they could safely get second place. Moreover, the one who was most angry should be Tower Master Luochen, right? Every time the 9-tiered pavilion was first place, but this time, they had been schemed against. They probably wouldn't let it go easily. However, to his surprise, Tower Master Luochen didn't have any special reaction. He just listened to everyone's conversation with an expressionless face. Master Ouyang of the Nameless Sword Sect was also a little dumbfounded. After counting the number of people, he found that there were 2 disciples of their sect on the Trial Island. Besides Elder Gus disciple Chu Fang, there was also Yun Chujiu who was making up the numbers. Master Ouyang couldn't tell what he felt in his heart. Could it be that the successive disciples of their sect were not as good as Yun Chujiu who was making up the numbers? At this moment, Tower Master Luochen, who had been silent, said coldly, "Everyone, don't be impatient. Before the final results are out, it's too early to say anything." The moment Tower Master Luochen said this, everyone was stunned. Too early to say. It ended in less than 4 hours, and judging from the number of people, the Flying Flower Island was firmly in first place. Could there be any unforeseen circumstances? Even if the other 8 people eliminated the animosity between the sects and joined forces, they would still not be a match for the Flying Flower Island. What unforeseen circumstances could there be? If there were any unforeseen circumstances, it was the Flying Flower Island that might eliminate those 8 people. When that time came, the Flying Flower Island would really stand out alone. When everyone thought of this, they looked at Island Master Qi angrily. They never thought that Island Master Qi would be so shameless. Island Master Qi looked at everyone calmly. He naturally knew what everyone was thinking, but this competition only happened once every 10 years. It was not easy for him to get the first place, so he naturally had to seize it. Moreover, although these people were dissatisfied, they couldn't do anything to him, so he didn't have any scruples at all. As for the final result, he wasn't worried at all. The first place would definitely go to their Flying Flower Island. At this moment, on Trial Island, Xiao Yu and the others were chatting and laughing merrily. They were extremely pleased with themselves. They felt that the first place was already a certainty. Moreover, there were 12 of them in total. Even mirage beasts wouldn't dare to attack them, so they were very relaxed. At this moment, someone noticed a figure in front of them flash and shouted loudly, "Junior sister Xiao Yu, it's Yun Chuzhou." Xiao Yu suddenly stood up and saw that it was indeed Yun Chuzhou who was standing in the distance. She probably noticed them and ran away. A trace of viciousness flashed in Xiao Yu's eyes. This slut was actually not eliminated. In that case, she would personally send her on her way. Chapter 41:19 was running out of time. The people of the Flying Flower Island also stood up. Someone said, "Junior sister Xiao Yu, just wait here. Let's go chase after her." Xiao Yu wished she could strangle Yun Chuzhou to death with her own hands. Naturally, she would not agree. She said, "5 people, chase after her with me. The rest of you, stand by and wait for orders." Everyone did not have any objections when they heard this. Against a mere Yun Chuzhou, 6 people were enough. Xiao Yu brought 5 people and chased closely behind. However, Yun Chuzhou was slippery and she ran very fast. She was even more familiar with the terrain than they were. As she ran, she was boasting, "Xiao Yu, your Flying Flower Island is really shameless. This is the first time I've seen such a shameless sect." But that's true. With such a shameless person like you, your Flying Flower Island isn't any better. Chase me, if you have the ability, then chase me. A bunch of trash, it'll anger you to death. Xiao Yu was about to explode from anger. In the blink of an eye, they had run nearly 10 li away. Yun Chuzhou stumbled as she ran and actually fell. Xiao Yu and the others naturally wouldn't let go of such a good opportunity. They immediately quickened their pace and pounced towards Yun Chuzhou. At this moment, a few large sacks were thrown down from the trees on both sides. The chili peppers inside were flying in all directions, accompanied by countless wind blade attacks. As for He Xinjiu who fell, she had already stood up. As she released De Hua, she took out a treasured sword and rushed in front of Xiao Yu. This fellow did not say a word and slashed at Xiao Yu. Due to the cover of the flying chili powder, He Xinjiu used the sword technique on the cliff. Xiao Yu was already choked to the point of tears. How could she be a match for her? In the blink of an eye, her face was scratched. When the wound touched the chili powder, the feeling was extremely refreshing. Xiao Yu was furious and afraid. She did not have time to think too much and activated her jade token. Once Xiao Yu activated her jade token, the other 5 people instantly lost their backbone. After a round of fighting, they also activated their jade tokens. Yun Chuzhou narrowed her eyes and said to Chu Fang and the others, "Let's go and deal with those 6 people." Chu Fang looked at the time. "Junior sister Yun, there's not much time left. We might not be able to deal with them. No matter what, we have to give it a try." Although Yun Chuzhou also felt that there was not enough time, she still had to give it a try. The remaining 6 people on the Flying Flower Island felt uneasy when they saw that Xiao Yu and the others had yet to return, but they also felt that nothing would happen. Just as they were hesitating, Yun Chuzhou and the others had already rushed over. If time allowed, Yun Chuzhou naturally wanted to split them up again and ambush them with chili powder, but there wasn't much time left, so she could only fight them head-on. In any case, they had the advantage in numbers. Even if they couldn't eliminate all of them, as long as one person was eliminated, Flying Flower Island's #1 spot would be gone. The 6 people from the Mystic Fog sect changed their previous unwillingness, as if they were injected with stimulants. As long as one person from Flying Flower Island was eliminated, their Mystic Fog sect would be #1. At that time, they would be the great heroes of the Mystic Fog sect, and their future prospects would be limitless. Although the 6 people from the Flying Flower Island did not know what had happened to Xiao Yu and the others, they knew that if one of them was eliminated, there would be no hope for them to be first. Hence, the 6 of them set up the Flying Flower Sword Formation. Although the Flying Flower Island Sword Formation was not as powerful as the nameless sword sects, it was not given for free. In an instant, it was a draw with Yun Chuzhou and the others. Chapter 4120 was completely eliminated. Although Yun Chujo had seen through the flaws of the flying flower sword array, it would take at least an hour to break the array. By then, it would be too late. Yun Chujo gritted her teeth. Just as she was about to release a few rabbits, a huge beast roar came from afar. A person from the Xuanwu sect said with a bitter face, "It's over. It's over. Isn't this the mirage beast that was released? Is it here to take revenge on us? It seems that we have no hope of getting first place. Let's retreat." Yun Chujo said happily, "Help is here." Chu Fang and the others were dumbfounded. Help? It should be an assassin. Chu Fang and the others felt that Yun Chujo was most likely crazy. It was already good enough that this mirage beast did not take revenge on them, but it was still helping them. In their dreams, the people from the Flying Flower Island were overjoyed. It seemed that this mirage beast had a grudge with Yun Chujo and the others. They took the opportunity to eliminate a person from the mysterious fog sect. The first place was still their Flying Flower Island. In the blink of an eye, the mirage beast had arrived in front of everyone. Yun Chujo said with a smile, "Come on, little baby. Help me kill these people." The mirage beast growled and indeed rushed towards the Flying Flower Island sword array. Chu Fang and the others were dumbfounded. Was it really here to help? Yun Chujo shouted at them, "Are you all dumbfounded? Hurry up." Only then did everyone come back to their senses. They followed Yun Chujo's instructions and specifically attacked the weak points of the Flying Flower sword array. The people of the Flying Flower Island felt their heads buzzing. They really could not understand why this mirage beast would help Yun Chujo and the others. Furthermore, how could Yun Chujo easily determine the flaws of their Flying Flower sword array? Some of the flaws were not even known to them, alright? With the help of the mirage beast, the people of the Flying Flower Island quickly lost their ability to resist. They could only activate their jade tokens and be teleported out. At this moment, the atmosphere in the meeting hall of the Flying Flower Island was very stagnant. Although Sect Master Huang and the others were indignant, they couldn't turn the situation around. They could only stare at each other and wait for the final result. At this moment, a disciple of the Flying Flower Island ran in. Reporting to Island Master, reporting to all the sect masters. 6 disciples of the Flying Flower Island have been eliminated. Currently, there are 14 people left on the Trial Island, 6 from the Flying Flower Island, 6 from the Mysterious Fog sect, and 2 from the Nameless Sword sect. What? Island Master Chi stood up immediately. 6 people from the Flying Flower Island had been eliminated. How was this possible? However, he quickly sat down. It was likely that the Mysterious Fog sect and the Nameless Sword sect had joined forces and fought together. Even if 6 people from the Flying Flower Island had been eliminated, the other party must have been severely injured. He believed that they would be eliminated very soon. The final champion would still be from the Flying Flower Island. The others had similar thoughts as him, and they did not have any expectations for the final result. Only Sect Master Chin of the Mysterious Fog sect started to sweat profusely. He had some extravagant hopes in his heart. If one more person was eliminated from the Flying Flower Island, wouldn't the Mysterious Fog sect become the champion? After a while, a disciple ran in panic. Reporting to Island Master, reporting to all the sect masters. All the disciples of the Flying Flower Island have been eliminated. Currently, there are 8 people left on the Trial Island, 6 from the Mysterious Fog sect, and 2 from the Nameless Sword sect. Island Master Chi of the Flying Flower Island couldn't believe his ears. He stood up and asked, "What? What did you say?" The disciple said with some fear, "Island Master, the last 6 people of our Flying Flower Island have also been eliminated." Island Master Chi was stunned for a moment and then sat down on the chair. How? How was this possible? You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.